Chapter 1273. The previous chapter, Duan he should be the 192nd inheritor, changed. Luo Feng grabbed the rock with both his hands, his entire body trembling. He couldn't help but raise his head. The area between his eyebrows seemed to have been forcefully imprinted. A black and white imprint finally appeared, following which it completely disappeared, unable to be seen again. Luo Feng's entire body trembled uncontrollably, opening his eyes and looking at Duan he standing beside. This is too painful. This is my Duan he imprint. Duan he, it was created by the third ancestor. Every generation can inherit it. The moment it is inherited, it can easily merge with the entire inheritance space. One has to have the imprint to truly make the inheritance space recognize him as its master. Only the one who controls the space can truly receive my Duan he's inheritance. Luo Feng nodded. The more special the treasure, the more troublesome it was for it to recognize its master, just like the star pagoda and the white feather wings. And this inheritance space was a treasure used by Duan he to pass on the inheritance. It was much more valuable than a small universe, much more valuable than even the most powerful treasures. How complicated was the process of recognizing a master? Only those with the imprint could recognize it as its master. Even though I've fallen, I've left behind a virtual consciousness. Duan he looked at Luo Feng. Using my true memories and personality as a template, a virtual consciousness was created. This way I can slowly waiting for the next person to accept the inheritance. I can leave behind a virtual consciousness. This is also one of the methods of the inheritance space. Duan he laughed. The inheritance space has many functions. It's a treasure specially created by the third ancestor for the inheritance. In the future, you will know all of them. My virtual consciousness controls this inheritance space. You are temporarily unable to recognize me as its master. I have to voluntarily give up my control. Only then can you recognize me as your master. Before that, you have to do one thing. Duan he looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng said respectfully, "Teacher, please speak." "Swear." Duan he emphasized. "Learn from me." Luo Feng nodded and listened carefully. Duan he emphasized slowly. "I, using the name of the new Duan he, swear, with the inheritance imprint as proof. I, Duan he, Luo Feng, will never pass on the core inheritance of Duan he. If I break this oath, may my soul be destroyed." "Must." Luo Feng looked at East Duan River. "Of course." Duan nodded solemnly. "Otherwise, you will perish and I will choose another inheritor." Luo Feng nodded, saying directly, "I, on my name as the new Duan River, swear, with the inheritance mark as proof. I, Duan River's Luo Feng, will never spread the core inheritance of the Duan River. If I break this oath, may my soul be destroyed." The voice reverberated in Zhang Xian's ears and mind. The mark on his glabella lit up, and the voice traveled into the depths of his soul. "If I break this oath, may my soul be destroyed. May my soul be annihilated. May my soul be annihilated." Voices reverberated in his soul. Luo Feng frowned curiously as he looked at Duan he beside him. Duan he nodded. "This inheritance mark will never dissipate. I know you are a universe knight and can revive after death. However, even if you were to be resurrected, you would still carry the legacy imprint with you forever. If you violated the oath, the legacy imprint would destroy your soul. Even if you're resurrected, you'll be annihilated again. You'll be constantly resurrected, annihilated, and annihilated." Luo Feng's heart went cold. "Of course, as long as you don't spread the core inheritance." Duan he nodded. "All right, before you recognize the owner of this inheritance space, I'll tell you the most important information and treasures. Follow me." Duan pointed up into the air, causing a spatial gate to appear in the air. Duan he and Luo Feng, one ahead and one behind, flew into the space door. Around them was an endless lake. In the center was a small island, on it was a normal wooden house, and before the house was a small pond. Duan-dong, he landed beside the pond. This independent space is the most important one out of the many spaces in the inheritance space. Duan-dong, he pointed above the pond. You see it right, there are 3 black stones floating above the water. Luo Feng looked over too. The pond wasn't big, but above it floated 3 shiny black stones, constantly floating. This is called a memory stone, also known as an inheritance stone. Duan-dong, he said, it can store large amounts of memories and information. Even an absolute warrior's large amounts of memories and information are extremely easy to store. These 3 stones can be said to be the core of my Duan-dong he sect. Duan-dong, he emphasized. Core. Luo Feng thought. Look within the pond again. Duan-dong, he waved his hand. Hua, the water within the pond immediately flew up, revealing the black stones at the bottom of the pond. With one look, there were probably over 10,000 stones. Look at the endless ocean. Duan-dong, he waved his hand again. Rumble, the endless ocean around the small island, rumbling, the endless water began to float, almost like the sky and earth were flipped. The water all floated into the sky, below was empty, revealing many trenches, underwater canyons, etc. With one look, with Luo Feng's vision, he could naturally see some black stones. They are all memory stones. Duan-dong, he said directly. These 3 are the core, the essence of the core inheritance. Duan-dong, he emphasized. This is the greatest contribution the 3rd-generation ancestor has left for our Duan-dong he sect. And within the pond there are a total of 12,002 memory stones, also part of the core inheritance. Duan-dong, he smiled. However, they represent many different schools, be it close combat, long-range attacks, treasures, machinery, etc. The techniques and training within, any one of them is enough to make your universe see go crazy. And within the endless ocean, there are over 100 million memory stones scattered about. Duan-dong, he smiled. Those are all the warriors of my Duan-dong he sect. As they roam the universe, they constantly gather all sorts of information. It can be said to encompass everything, the basic techniques and information of my home civilization. Probably 90% of them are recorded. Of course, the records are all shallow and basic, just like the basic inheritance you receive. Luo Feng was extremely excited. A library. It was simply a super library, or rather, a template left behind by the ancient civilization. With the hundreds of millions of memory stones in the endless ocean, it was completely possible to replicate the low to mid-level power of the ancient civilization. After all, they were all superficial. These 12002 memory stones. Duan-dong, he pointed at the bottom of the pond. They are the pride of the past inheritors, their blood, sweat, and tears. Of course, some of them are top-notch cultivation information that we've collected. They're all priceless. Every memory stone is enough to start a war. These 3 can even cause the superpowers of my home to start a war. Remember, the information within these 3 and the 12,002 stones are not to be divulged. Duan-dong, he emphasized. As for the others in the endless ocean, do as you wish. Yes. Luo Feng replied. Try using your God energy to wrap these 3 memory stones. Duan-dong, you have the inheritance imprint. These 3 memory stones will acknowledge you and pass on the inheritance within to you. Luo Feng held his breath. The essence of the core inheritance, the knowledge that the 3rd-generation ancestor was most proud of? So. 3 formless God energies extended outwards, swiftly wrapping around the 3 black stones. The moment they touched, the 3 black stones glowed. On their surface ancient complex engravings appeared, following which a huge amount of information rushed into Luo Feng's mind. A huge amount of information, covering the skies and covering the land. Even with Luo Feng's endurance speed, it took a full day before it was all transferred. Duan-dong, he stood aside smiling. Luo Feng opened his eyes. They were filled with shock and disbelief. Just 3 absolute arts. The entire core of Duan He, the true essence, were these 3 absolute arts. They were called Broken, East, and River, respectively. Broken, its full name was Annihilation. It was an extremely special absolute art. It could allow the divine body or body's energy to explode in a short period of time. This also allowed one's strength to increase by 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 times. This absolute art, if simplified, was similar to self-destruction. Self-destruction would cause one's entire body's energy to explode in an instant. However, self-destruction, firstly, the energy would spread out in all directions, and secondly, the moment one self-destructs, he would die. And annihilation was a core inheritance created by the 3rd-generation ancestor. It was completely different. It allowed the strong to control the speed of the combustion. For example, to burn the entire divine body within 3 seconds. This power explosion was much stronger than normal by who knows how many times, and even if the battle ended within a second, it could stop the combustion immediately. And during battle, one could control the energy and attack the opponent with greater precision. Hence this was a very heaven-defying absolute art, one that could completely kill enemies above one's level. East, its full name was East Flower. It was an escape absolute art. The moment it was unleashed, one would become a beam of light, unbelievably fast, easily piercing through layers of space. It was Duan He's most heaven-defying escape absolute art. River, its full name was Undying River. This absolute art's goal was to not die. Like flesh and blood life forms, becoming undying, universe night, universe lord, the divine body would begin to transform into energy. However, the moment one breaks through to become the universe's strongest, it would return to its roots. Many bodies fusing into one, the divine body would completely transform into flesh and blood. It could be considered a true flesh and blood life form. Although it could still burn part of its flesh and blood to transform into energy, it was still a flesh and blood life form. Normally, to kill a universe lord or even the universe's strongest, a soul attack could kill them, but with Undying River, once cultivated to a certain level, it could completely separate a part of the body. For example, by hiding a drop of blood, even if the main body and clone were destroyed by a soul attack, this drop of blood that had been specially refined would be unharmed, and could even rapidly absorb energy, spending some time to transform back into the main body. This was undying. Annihilation could explode with super combat power in a frontal battle. East Flower was extremely heaven-defying when escaping. Even if one could not escape, they could use Undying River to rise again. 3 ultimate arts. With these 3 ultimate arts, even though there was only one Duan He of each generation, almost all of them would rise to become terrifying figures. Indeed, the 3rd-generation ancestor's absolute art, indeed the core of Duan He's inheritance, it's simply too heaven-defying. Luo Feng was speechless. No wonder it was the pinnacle of inheritances from the ancient civilization. The one who obtained it was truly a genius, enough to make any other warrior go mad with jealousy. No wonder the East Emperor's Sacred Land and Purple Moon's Sacred Land were so tempted. Looks like the 2 ancestors had heard of Duan He's inheritance before. If you like this work, please come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1274. The pond water, the endless ocean water floated in mid-air. Duan He solemnly said, when you're weak, you can still rely on training to break through. However, as you get stronger, any super expert would need to experience countless battles and killings in order to hone themselves. For example, to become a true god, which is the so-called strongest expert in the universe, one would also need to experience countless battles and obtain countless rewards before finally breaking through. From the true god level onwards, every step upwards is extremely difficult. The strong are existences that constantly walk the line between life and death without falling. Duan Dong, he said. Luo Feng nodded. He agreed with those words. Actually, from his point of view, to become a universe lord, one had to break through battles and training. Like Mountain Passenger, like the primal Chaos City leader, they both let him break through by training. Universe Lord, the strongest of the universe, true God, they all had to walk the line between life and death. There are many with talent and determination, maybe they can achieve something. Duan Dong, he said softly, however, to truly stand at the pinnacle, which one doesn't have a pile of good fortune. A single warrior relying on himself has no way to reach that pinnacle. My Duan Dong, his most important 3 techniques are to allow you to walk through countless life and death battles and lower your chances of dying to the lowest. Of course, even so, it doesn't mean you can't die. My Duan Dong, his inheritors have all died long ago, even the 3rd-generation ancestor has died. Duan Dong, he shook his head, hence you must not be careless. Luo Feng nodded and smiled. This era is far from that civilization, it's still alright. It's not that simple. Duan Dong, he shook his head. It's not that simple? Luo Feng was stunned. What do you mean? First, carefully look at the 3 techniques you've acquired. Duan Dong, he said directly. Luo Feng immediately began to carefully look through them, as the information within each of the 3 techniques was unbelievable. Just the memory transfer itself took so long. The memory transfer was forcefully shoved into Luo Feng's memory. To read it, Luo Feng had to read it slowly. With Luo Feng's reading speed, just studying the absolute art annihilation took a total of 10 days before his expression changed. You've discovered it? Duan Dong, he seemed to be smiling yet not smiling. Why is it gone? Luo Feng looked shocked at Duan Dong River. Annihilation was left behind by the 3rd-generation founder. According to the introduction of the absolute art, it should be extremely huge. There should be 9 scrolls. Why is there only the first 3 simple scrolls? I can clearly sense the last 6 volumes in my memory, but I just can't read them. Why is that? It was a strange feeling. It was as if there was something that he clearly remembered, but he just couldn't remember it. The entire annihilation art was in his memory, but he couldn't recall the last 6 volumes. However, he could sense that they were in his memory. This feeling of forgetting was something that happened when he was young and weak. Ever since he became a super expert, he could easily look back at every memory of everything he had experienced in his life. He wouldn't forget anything. It's because the first 3 scrolls are the limits of what a true god can cultivate, Duan Dong has said. The limit of the true god level? Luo Feng thought of something. The 3 absolute arts, and these. Duan Dong, he pointed at the black stones at the bottom of the pond, and these. He then pointed at the black stones scattered about in the endless ocean. All the information, even if you transfer all your memories, you can only see up to the pinnacle of the true God level. Beyond that, you won't be able to see it. Duan Dong, he said directly. How can it be like this? Luo Feng was curious. He didn't really care. It didn't matter if he couldn't see it. Anyway, the countless inheritance stones information, from the normal undying to the pinnacle of the universe, everything was recorded in detail. It was enough for him. After all, he was only a universe knight now. However, even though he clearly remembered it in his mind, who was it that made it so he couldn't look through his memories? Because Duan Dong He's gaze was distant, sighing softly. It's the primal universe's willpower. Primal universe's willpower? Luo Feng was stunned. It's that. Duan Dong He sighed and nodded. The primal universe is the largest celestial body in the entire universe. See. Such a huge celestial body, the amount of primal chaos energy it absorbs is terrifying. Compared to it, the universe boat is simply. Duan Dong He shook his head. Luo Feng nodded. Even though the universe boat was huge, compared to the primal universe, it was like comparing a palm-sized paper boat to a sun. If you live within the primal universe and become a part of it, it's still fine. Duan Dong He nodded. However, if you're no longer a part of it, the entire primal universe will no longer protect you. That'll be troublesome. In the universe C, who's the strongest? It's not anyone, but the primal universe's willpower. Duandong, he said, your powers are very weak, but you should be able to feel it. When you battle the true gods, it can help you. No matter where you are in the universe C, it can help you. The true gods' powers are all suppressed, even their god energies are completely suppressed. Duandong, he said. Luo Feng nodded. Yes. It was indeed so. The primal universe's willpower was an undefeatable huge being, and the ancestor fought with the willpower of the origin laws back then, and was eventually suppressed forever. With the entire primal universe as its support, the willpower of the origin laws completely surpasses your imagination. Duandong, he sneered, do you know how this universe boat broke? This Duandong, his expression suddenly changed. There's nothing more I can say. Duandong, he looked at Luo Feng, emphasizing, there are some things I can't say. You must know, the entire universe C, there's not a single place that isn't under the control of the primal universe's willpower. Luckily, it's just a simple willpower formed from the huge origin laws, and doesn't have any desires, otherwise who knows what would happen. To transcend, there's only one way. Duandong, he looked at Luo Feng, past the reincarnation, and enter a new realm. My Duandong, he has many memory stones and information. Right now you can only view the true God level, however if you pass the reincarnation, you'll be able to view everything. Duandong, he said. Luo Feng nodded. Even though Duandong he didn't say it, Luo Feng could vaguely understand. Back then when Duandong he and the other warriors of that civilization rode the universe boat, it probably had something to do with the primal universe's willpower, and the destruction of the universe boat was very likely the work of the primal universe's willpower. You and I are different. You are a part of the primal universe, at least for now. Duandong, he smiled, hence you receive its protection. Duandong, he suddenly waved his hand. Below the floating endless ocean water, in the vast trenches, underwater canyons and other scattered black stones, along with the black stones at the bottom of the pond, they all flew up and flew towards Duandong he. Very quickly, they were all collected by Duandong he. Rumble, only then did the endless ocean water in the sky rumble down, the water in the pond too. Follow me. Duandong he pointed ahead. Ripples immediately formed before them, forming a space entrance. Luo Feng followed obediently. The two entered the space entrance one after another, very quickly arriving in a new space. This was a seemingly endless and vast world, surrounded by endless darkness. Below their feet was a piece of land, a land with a diameter of only 10 kilometers. This is a time acceleration space. Duandong he pointed at the distant endless darkness, the seemingly endless darkness. In truth it's all fake. This time acceleration space is very small, it's just this land area. The smaller the area, the less energy it consumes. Duandong he smiled. I've fallen long ago. With just my control, I can only accelerate it by 10,000 times. As for you, the stronger your god power, the faster you control it. Under the time acceleration, only then can the training time be extended. Duandong he waved his hand. A black stone floated before Luo Feng. Originally, during the lonely endless reincarnation era, I had many things to say, many things to entrust to you, and many things regarding my Duandong he's pride to tell you. Duandong he shook his head. However, when you accepted the 3 absolute arts, I suddenly realized, I've fallen long ago, what's the point of being reluctant? Hence, I've recorded everything in this memory stone. This memory stone recorded everything I wanted to tell you, along with the entire inheritance space and all the mysteries within. Once you see it, you'll know everything. Duandong he raised his head to look at the endless darkness, squatting down and gently grabbing the soil on the land, gently smelling it, smiling. I've long died, the current me is just a virtual consciousness. Virtual, just virtual. I'm not a living being, Hua. Duan Dong He's entire body shattered, immediately dissipating. Teacher! Duan Dong He! Luo Feng shouted, however he was the only one left. Luo Feng was stunned. He was trapped here, how was he going to get out? Rumble, threads of light appeared from the endless darkness, swiftly enveloping him. Luo Feng looked up at the sky, threads of black and white light descended, there was nowhere to hide, immediately gathering towards Luo Feng. Luo Feng's inheritance imprint automatically appeared on his forehead. The black and white mixed imprint rotated, endless light flowed into Luo Feng's body, after which everything returned to normal. An incomparable sense of closeness grew within him. Luo Feng looked around, with a thought. Immediately a small blade of grass grew on the land, breaking out of the soil, growing lusciously, even spreading towards the surroundings. In an instant, 10 kilometers of land had become a grass field. Owner recognition? Luo Feng was stunned. The inheritance space had recognized him as its owner. Even though he was still unfamiliar with it, he could sense the entire inheritance space. Duan Dong He voluntarily gave up control of it? Luo Feng looked to his side. Duan Dong He was grabbing the soil there. Recalling his words, Luo Feng suddenly realized that Duan Dong He was probably gone forever. The only thing left in the universe C was himself, the 193rd Duan Dong He. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1275. Even though he had already recognized the inheritance space, Luo Feng still had many questions about the tomb boat and the inheritance space. Hence he immediately used his god energy to wrap around the memory stone, following which large amounts of information were transmitted over. This was the detailed information left behind by Duan Dong River's consciousness before it dissipated. It told Luo Feng about the many functions and things to take note of. He also told Luo Feng about his modifications to the tomb boat, even the control core of the tomb boat, how to control it, it was all told. The third-generation ancestors' preparations are too detailed. Luo Feng exclaimed. The entire inheritance space, about 95% of it is the third-generation ancestors' achievements, the other 5% are the functions added by the previous inheritors. This makes the inheritance space a perfect place to nurture the strong. Luo Feng exclaimed. It was too detailed. If not for the information left behind by Duan Dong River, even though he recognized the inheritance space, he would probably have to wander around and research before he could understand everything. However, now, everything was under his control. The inheritance space was basically like a small universe, separated into many independent spaces. There was something like a super library, which was the information within the sea of memory stones. Almost all of the ancient civilization's most basic techniques etc. were recorded, along with countless precious experiences that lead directly to the peak, the experiences of the previous inheritors, along with the countless precious information they collected. There was something like a specialized training space, a small virtual space. Inside there were many opponents, a total of 282, including the previous Duan Dong River. Consciousness could enter the virtual space and spar with them. These virtual opponents could unleash the power of the previous absolute warriors, the strongest of which was naturally the third-generation ancestor. There was something like a specialized place to create techniques, there was a specialized place to nurture one's own weapon, there was a specialized place to train, there was a specialized place. Anyway, the entire inheritance space was a place for the inheritors to constantly replenish themselves. It was a perfect place to nurture the strong. This is too extravagant. Luo Feng blinked. Before accepting the inheritance, he had many imaginations. However, after actually touching it, he realized that his imagination wasn't enough. He had underestimated Duan Dong River's inheritors. This was an extremely extravagant inheritance space. Not becoming an absolute warrior was a very small probability. Of course, it was just a matter of time. In addition, the East Duandong River lineage had very strict requirements for the selection of inheritors. To be selected, one's talent, perseverance, and many other aspects were absolutely top-notch. Even without the inheritance, one's future achievements would not be small. However, with the assistance of this inheritance space, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Naturally, he would be able to walk even higher. In the cosmic sea, there are some inheritances that have been fought to the death, especially the holy-eyed race's so-called joint attack technique. It's just a very ordinary part of the ancient civilization. Regarding all sorts of minor details, even soul attacks, illusory techniques, refining supreme treasures, manufacturing and controlling machines, there are simply too many to count, Luo Feng exclaimed. It was equivalent to him grasping the foundation of a powerful ancient civilization. However, to the East Duan River lineage, these foundations and the information within the hundreds of millions of memory stones were all minor details. They were all things that could be freely spread outside of the East Duan River lineage. Knowledge is power. Countless warriors' experiences, countless training schools' theories, all of them were created by countless warriors advancing wave upon wave. This is the most fundamental. The first thing Luo Feng did was also something all the previous generations of Duandong he had done. That was to memorize all of the memory stones. Even if he didn't walk those schools, it would still be helpful to his own training. Or if he met an opponent from that school in a real battle, he would be able to learn some details, strengths, weaknesses, etc. Come. Luo Feng waved his hand. Immediately large amounts of black stones floated in mid-air, over 100 million of them. Categorize them. Luo Feng divided countless amounts of God energy and simultaneously touched all of the memory stones. He began to process the information at the same time and began to categorize them. Countless memory stones began to categorize. First categorize and then memorize. Luo Feng spent close to 15 days in the 10,000 times training space to memorize everything about the core inheritance. The actual time spent was a few hundred years. After which he began an even larger task, memorizing over 100 million memory stones. Over 100 million memory stones, every one of them was a basic part, hence the amount of information was far from the core inheritance. However, he still spent close to 30 years to completely memorize them. In reality it was 30 years. After completely memorizing them, Luo Feng began to carefully study them. The time spent on this was much longer than just memorizing them. Before, he just forcefully shoved countless books into his brain, now he slowly flipped through them. The tomb boat still floated in mid-air within the ice-fire region, the cabin door closed. Occasionally there would be warriors passing by, glancing at it with envy, however they would quickly leave, not daring to stay any longer, afraid of angering that broken East River. After all, even the second and seventh true lords of the God-eyed clan were instantly killed. When the large powers of the universe sea were guessing and doubting, even most of them not knowing who the inheritor was, Luo Feng was studying calmly. The inheritance space was definitely safe. What's more, it was within the tomb boat. The moment the tomb boat closed, no one in the universe sea would be able to enter, and whoever entered would be courting death. Even though the tomb boat couldn't attack from outside, after being modified by broken East River, it had many terrifying methods. Even the strongest of the universe would be courting death if they entered. As time passed, Luo Feng's understanding of the Undying, the Universe Knight, Universe Lord and the strongest of the universe, the breakthroughs of every level, even the strongest of the universe on how to continue advancing etc., was incomparably clear. Even the strongest of the universe didn't know as much as Luo Feng. Because in the ancient civilization, the analysis was extremely clear, and these were all considered the most ordinary and outer layer memory stones of the broken East River inheritance. There was no value in keeping it a secret. Even though Luo Feng was only a universe knight, he had the right to teach the universe lords, even the strongest of the universe. After all, the strongest of the universe were all blind. Even if they broke through, they were all muddle-headed. After all, the experience of the seniors was too little. There was no way to conduct systematic research. In the blink of an eye, another 2,600 years had passed since he received the inheritance. Virtual Universe, the creator of the huge axe's independent plane. Luo Feng has been the inheritor for so long. After sending us a mail, he hasn't appeared again. In the endless dark space, before the shrine, the primal Chaos City leader and the creator of the huge axe sat facing each other. In terms of relationship, Primal Chaos and the huge axe were very close. Back then, when the ancestor taught him, he also taught him. Primal Chaos was more obedient, always listening to the ancestor's teachings. He was the eldest disciple. Huge Axe, however, was different. He was more arrogant and independent, often wandering outside. He didn't even have a master and disciple relationship with the ancestor. However, without a doubt, Primal Chaos and Huge Axe were the earliest disciples of the ancestor. One was the eldest disciple, the other didn't have a master and disciple relationship. Huge Axe was like an older brother, especially after the ancestor was suppressed. The entire human race was supported by the two of them. After a long time, the two naturally had a deep relationship, often discussing together. "Haha, you sure are worried about your treasured disciple." Huge Axe laughed loudly. "I'm worried about an accident." Primal Chaos shook his head. "Who knows about the ancient civilization? That broken East River may have other intentions, who knows? Then can't you just find Luo Feng?" Huge Axe said. "I'm worried I'll disturb him from receiving the inheritance." Primal Chaos frowned. "What's there to worry about? Luo Feng has a few large bodies. Don't tell me when he receives the inheritance, one of them can't even send a bit of consciousness into the virtual universe?" Huge Axe shook his head. "If you're worried, then I'll find him." Huge Axe was very direct, sending a mail to Luo Feng. Very quickly, a silhouette appeared in the silent shrine. It was Luo Feng dressed in a simple white robe. As he was used to wearing silver armor, it made him naturally lean towards silver and white. "Luo." Huge Axe's creator opened his mouth, suddenly frowning, carefully inspecting Luo Feng. Primal Chaos was meticulous. The moment he saw Luo Feng, he too was stunned. What level were they at? With one look, they could tell that Luo Feng before them had changed too much. That was an aura that came from deep within his bones. Some people's aura would become more resolute and sharp after battling. Some people would have a bookish aura after reading too much. Different experiences would cause one's aura to change, and when Luo Feng absorbed the entire ancient civilization's foundation, his own vision and realm had undergone a heaven-shaking change, far surpassing many of the strongest in the universe. He could completely become the strongest teacher, guiding them. "Looks like the inheritance isn't normal." Huge Axe turned to look at the Primal Chaos City leader, exclaiming, "The moment I saw him, I felt like I saw the ancestor from back then. He liked to wear white too." "He does have that feeling." The Primal Chaos City leader smiled. Luo Feng walked up. "Huge Axe creator, teacher, don't you two laugh at me. I can tell." Huge Axe said, "You've gained a lot." "How was it?" The Primal Chaos City leader didn't laugh anymore, saying, "How was the inheritance this time? How did it help our human race? Do you have any confidence in letting us humans escape the reincarnation cycle?" Beside, Huge Axe's eyes were filled with anticipation. Luo Feng nodded. "From the undying level all the way to the strongest in the universe, everything is within my heart." His tone was really big. Huge Axe and the Primal Chaos City leader exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming. Sweat drops. He had already finished writing 2 chapters. He had rushed all the way home and hadn't showered yet. After showering, he estimated that he would sleep late today. He wouldn't be able to write tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's update would be at night. Of course it wouldn't be as late as today. At the same time, I'll summon recommendation tickets. They're free, everyone has one. please take the trouble to click your mouse and vote to support Tomato. Chi ***, to be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chi.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1276. What kind of person Luo Feng was. The primal Chaos City leader and the huge axe creator were extremely clear. They had watched him grow up, just like back when he was first absorbed into the virtual universe company. He never exploded out, but once he did, it would definitely be shocking. After becoming the primal Chaos City leader's disciple, he had vanished for a long time. Even the outside world was speculating if he was dead. Luo Feng's growth. One could clearly see Luo Feng's character and style of doing things. The primal Chaos City leader and the huge axe creator were extremely clear. Luo Feng did everything with confidence and preparation. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't do it easily, and if he dared to confidently say it, then it would definitely work. Everything is in your heart? The huge axe creator laughed loudly. Everything? That's a big tone. However, I'm really happy to hear that. Undying to the limits of the strongest in the universe. The primal Chaos City leader couldn't help but ask. Then do you know how to pass the reincarnation? Beside, the huge axe creator's gaze froze, staring at Luo Feng. Passing the reincarnation, even the huge axe felt fear, hesitation and no confidence. Luo Feng was slightly stunned. Passing the reincarnation? He really didn't know. Luo Feng said seriously, the inheritance of Duandong River is extremely vast. However, due to the influence of the primal universe willpower, I can only know of the countless inheritances up to the limits of the strongest in the universe. Any higher and one has to pass the reincarnation, only then would one not be affected by the primal universe willpower. Origin willpower? Giant Axe and Chaos looked at each other. Others might not know, but the two of them were the ones who had the most contact with the progenitor. After the progenitor was suppressed, it usually contacted the two of them more often, so they had heard about the original will from the progenitor. On the two sides of the long stone table were many chairs. Luo Feng, huge axe and primal chaos sat there. Suddenly, opposite huge axe's seat, a white-robed silhouette appeared in the empty chair. It was the ancestor. However, Luo Feng, huge axe and primal chaos didn't realize it. Origin willpower? The white-robed ancestor frowned, listening from the side. However, how the strongest in the universe continue to train, how to reach the limits of the strongest, I know. Luo Feng said, with this limit as a foundation, if one breaks through and reaching a new level, one will definitely be able to pass the reincarnation. The huge axe creator said directly. Luo Feng looked shocked at the creator of the huge axe. He himself was only guessing. After all, the information regarding the reincarnation in the inheritance couldn't be found, even the strongest of the universe and above couldn't be found. He didn't expect Great Axe to be so confident. The primal Chaos City Master also looked at the axe in shock. Huge Axe looked at Luo Feng and Primal Chaos. Very simple, when you break through and become the strongest in the universe, you'll understand why I know. One sentence, completely break through the strongest level and reach a higher level, you'll definitely pass the reincarnation. If he couldn't achieve it, he could take a gamble and transcend the cycle of reincarnation. As for the probability, take a look at the countless strongest experts of the universe who have fallen in the reincarnation era, and you will know how low the probability is. Luo Feng and the Primal Chaos City leader nodded. There were at least 10,000 reincarnation eras, and every reincarnation era had at least 10,000 strongest experts in the universe. It was hard to say how many strongest experts there were in the long river of time in the cosmic sea. But those who succeeded were very clear. Purple Moon Ancestor and East Deity Ancestor, it was just the two of them. As for these two ancestors, they broke through and transcended the strongest level of the universe and successfully passed the reincarnation. or they gambled with the pinnacle of the universe's strongest and luckily succeeded. No one knew. Then, Universe Lord, how do they become the strongest? The primal Chaos City leader asked. This was related to himself. To break through, every Universe Lord can't walk the same path. Does the Duandong River inheritance have any guidance? Huge Axe asked. Yes. Luo Feng nodded. In the ancient civilization, there were countless warriors. Even though becoming the strongest in the universe was a huge threshold, because there were many breakthroughs. Naturally, there was a system of knowledge and experience to follow, to maximize the probability of breaking through. Our human race, when this reincarnation era ends, may have 4 to 5 universe strongest. However, if there's guidance, I'm afraid it'll multiply by many times. The god-eyed race back then had 7. Humanity only had 2, and the ancestor had been suppressed. To produce 4 to 5 was already not bad. Multiply by many times? Huge Axe and Primal Chaos were shocked. Doesn't this mean that every Universe Lord will become the strongest in the universe? The Primal Chaos City leader asked. Humanity only had a total of 19 Universe Lord. No. Luo Feng shook his head. That's not what I meant. From Universe Lord to the strongest, it's an extremely terrifying threshold. With the guidance of the ancient civilization, even though the probability of breaking through is the highest, it's still very difficult. What I mean is, from undying to the strongest in the universe, the entire nurturing system. Luo Feng said, for example, right now, humanity only has a few thousand Universe Lords and close to 20 Universe Lords. And under a more complete system, the human race could have over 100,000 Universe Venerables and hundreds of Universe Lords. Of course, this nurturing method would allow those with weaker talent, who were originally at most Universe Lords, to become Universe Lords. Hence these hundreds of Universe Lords, their average talent can't even compare to the close to 20 Universe Lords of our human race. Hundreds of Universe Lords, they should be able to produce tens of Universe Strongest. Luo Feng said, if we're lucky, close to 100 Universe Strongest is also possible. Silence. The Primal Chaos City leader and the creator of Huge Axe went silent. They were stunned. It was too unbelievable. How many Universe Strongest were there in a reincarnation era? Like the first and second reincarnation eras, there were only about 30 each. Could humanity be stronger than a reincarnation era in the future? The Primal Chaos City leader didn't know what to say. You have confidence? Huge Axe's eyes gleamed. Luo Feng nodded. Of course. The Universe Strongest is just one of the paths of the strong. As our human race gets stronger, and our territory in the primal universe expands, there will be more and more geniuses. Close to 100 Universe Strongest is very possible. Alright. Huge Axe said, then give us some pointers, let us see just how powerful this ancient civilization is. Alright. Luo Feng was confident, naturally confident. Huge Axe nodded, I'll arrange for them to come over. On this floating continent in the endless space, silhouettes began to appear on the long stone table in front of Huge Axe shrine. Creator Huge Axe, why are you in such a rush to find us? Lord Pengworker laughed. At the same time, the other Universe Lords appeared one after another. They were the Lord of Darkness, the Lord of Void Gold, the Lord of Green East, the Lord of Desolation, the Lord of Pengworker, the Lord of Dragon Travel, and the Lord of Icepeak. Including the Primal Chaos City leader, there were a total of 8 Universe Lord. The moment they arrived, they noticed Luo Feng. All of them were excited and filled with anticipation. Because they were clear that Luo Feng was accepting the ancient civilization's Duandong River inheritance. His appearance this time seemed to be related to that inheritance. Luo Feng has already accepted the Duandong River inheritance. Huge Axe's eyes swept around, looking at the Universe Lords. Primal Chaos, Darkness, Peng Gong, your chances of becoming the strongest in the universe are high. Void Gold, Dragon Travel, Desolate Mirror, Qing Dong, Ice Peak, the 5 of you too have high hope. Listen to Luo Feng's explanation on how to break through from Universe Lord to the strongest in the universe. Hua. The Primal Chaos City leader was still calm. He just smiled. However, the other 7 were all shocked and excited. From Universe Lord to the strongest in the universe? There were simply no traces to follow. Everyone had to walk a different path. This was something that had been troubling them for a long time, and the breakthrough had to be in the Primal Universe era. The moment this era ended and they entered the small universe, they would have no more chances to break through. How could they not be anxious? Luo Feng, do you have confidence? Green East Lord was the first to shout. In he, can I become the strongest in the universe? Pringong Gong was direct. Luo Feng said, the few of you here are the most talented of our human race. To be able to reach this stage without the guidance of a system, they are all extraordinary. The moment we have the guidance of the ancient civilization, our human race will naturally have the highest hopes of becoming the strongest in the universe. As for who will be able to break through, I can't guarantee it. Only after everyone listens to me, you will all understand. Don't ask, listen to Luo Feng. Huge Axe ordered. The Universe Lords who had been anticipating for countless years all sat there, resisting all sorts of doubts and worries, suppressing everything within their stomachs, staring at Luo Feng and listening intently. And the white-robed ancestor too began to listen. Luo Feng's gaze swept past everyone, from Universe Lord to the strongest in the universe. Everyone has to walk a different path. However, in truth, they can be categorized into 2 types. Everyone held their breaths and listened intently. The first type starts from God energy. The second type starts from the origin laws. Luo Feng said confidently. The creator of Huge Axe was immediately suspicious, saying, from the origin laws, this, to become the strongest in the universe, from what I know, everyone starts from the origin laws. Like the one from the Space Beast Alliance, he combined the 8 great beast god origin laws. The others start from space and time. It's just that the direction is different. Luo Feng smiled. From origin laws, almost 90% of the strongest in the universe are like this. Luo Feng explained, and from God energy, what is God energy? God energy forms the body. Within the God energy there are life imprints forming the life core. Just like us humans have souls, some races don't, however they still have the life core. Anyway, any Universe Lord can become limitless God energy. Everyone listened quietly. What are the fundamentals to becoming the strongest in the universe? It's breaking. Breaking through the restrictions. Breaking through the restrictions. Breaking through the shackles on us, entering a new world. Luo Feng emphasized, like starting from the origin laws, it's a breakthrough in the origin laws, allowing the God country to break through its bottleneck. The moment it breaks through, it will naturally transform into a small universe. From God energy, the Universe Lord's perfect genes are 10,081 times stronger. This is the limit. Starting from God energy is to break through this limit, allowing the God energy to evolve to a new level. Luo Feng emphasized, the moment the God energy evolves, the body and soul evolve too. This is using strength to break through. Using absolute strength to break through the shackles. The moment the body breaks through, the God country it can hold will naturally become bigger, breaking through the bottleneck and transforming into a small universe. No one present made a sound upon hearing this. The races of the universe C were all blind, as their numbers were too few, there was no way to study them systematically. And there wasn't a true absolute warrior standing at the top, analyzing everything from a high vantage point. Breaking through the shackles. Only then will one be able to control their own fate. From then on, the origin laws will retreat, the laws will follow. Luo Feng said, starting from God energy is extremely difficult, starting from the origin laws is easier. I'll first explain how to do it from the origin laws. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1277. From the origin laws, the simplest way to summarize. From undying, one would begin to understand one of the most basic laws, like gold, wind, etc. To become a universe knight, one would study the time or space laws. Actually, the path of the origin laws is to start from the smallest point, constantly climbing upwards. The final goal is gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, time and space. These are the 10 most basic laws. One has to learn them all. The second has to fuse them all into one primal chaos law. The moment Luo Feng said that, everyone present revealed looks of shock. Even the creator of the huge axe stood up in shock. In fact, a white-robed figure appeared out of thin air on the other main seat opposite the creator of the giant axe. You said primal chaos law? The white-robed man stared at Luo Feng, his eyes gleaming like never before. Ancestor. The creator of the huge axe was shocked. Teacher. Primal chaos, darkness and ice peak were both shocked and overjoyed, immediately bowing. The other Peng worker leader, Green East leader, Void Gold leader, Dragon Travel leader and Desolate Mirror leader were all extremely excited, shouting, Ancestor. Luo Feng too was shocked as he looked at the white-robed man before him. He was the legendary ancestor? The ancestor looked like a very normal man on the surface. It was a perfect introverted feeling after reaching perfection. The feeling he gave others was like a spring breeze, completely different from other warriors. Luo Feng, you said primal chaos law? The ancestor asked. Yes. Luo Feng replied. Everything is formed from the primal chaos law. The final goal is to return to the origin and comprehend the ultimate primal chaos law. However, if one really comprehends the primal chaos law, then one's power would probably be even stronger than Duan Dong He. The primal chaos law is the ultimate law. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, time and space, these are the 10 basic laws. Luo Feng said, for example, gold and space merging, forming the gold space path. Wood and space merging, forming the wood space path. It can form the 8 great beast god paths. They can also merge with each other. Of course, gold and time merging, forming the gold time path, fire and time merging, forming the fire time path. As Luo Feng spoke, Huge Axe couldn't help but say, gold, wood, water, fire and earth, aren't they space related? How can they completely merge with time? Everything is possible. Luo Feng smiled. As everything is formed from primal chaos, everything is possible, even 3 origin laws combining, 4 origin laws combining, even 5 origin laws combining. Luo Feng shook his head. Of course, it's just like the basic materials on a mineral planet, they can be transformed into universe ships. The 10 foundation laws will eventually transform into the laws of primal chaos. The profoundness, experience, and technique involved are unimaginably deep. Luo Feng said, it's not something that can be achieved by just blindly doing it. Everyone in the primordial era knew that the 10 great basic laws could eventually transform into the laws of primal chaos. However, even if the East Broken River lineage chooses the most talented inheritors and has countless resources to guide them, the number of people who can grasp the laws of primal chaos can be counted on one hand. Luo Feng had seen the core inheritance. Although he did not know how to cultivate after the true God stage and what levels it was divided into, he did not know. Occasionally, there were some words that could be used to deduce some information. For example, the core inheritance memory stone had mentioned that there were only a handful of people from the Broken East River lineage who had grasped the law of primal chaos. What did this mean? 1. There wasn't just one. 2. Broken East River's strongest third-generation ancestor stood at the pinnacle of the ancient civilization. He was the strongest in Broken East River. Since there wasn't just one, That meant he had obviously surpassed the level of grasping the law of primal chaos. Luo Feng only spoke about the law of primal chaos for a while. After all, he knew very little about it. He only knew that from the undying to the universe's strongest true God limit. Following which, Luo Feng began to analyze the path of the origin laws on a deeper level. Everyone present, including Huge Axe, listened very carefully. And the white-robed ancestor only watched on. The only thing that attracted him was the information on the law of primal chaos. Because he had been suppressed for countless years, if he were to leave, he would have 100% confidence in passing the reincarnation. Since he dared to say he had 100% confidence, naturally he had already broken through the true God stage, reaching a level that was above the strongest in the universe. Hence, Luo Feng's words to him were fresh, only slightly moving. The true help was what he said before. The final goal was to grasp the law of primal chaos. This allowed the ancestor, who had always been at a loss on how to proceed, to know that he had to follow this path, advancing towards the law of primal chaos. The ancestor watched the scene before him. A white-robed Luo Feng was there preaching. The other universe lords were all listening intently. This scene touched the ancestor's heart. A long time ago, I preached too. It was a similar scene. I allowed the human race to stand at the pinnacle, allowing humanity's fate to undergo its first huge change. And this Luo Feng has brought the entire ancient civilization's wisdom, allowing humanity to undergo its second huge change. And this time, it will be even more profound than the last. The ancestor thought. He understood with Luo Feng's teachings, humanity would gradually undergo a change, the number of knights would constantly rise, universe lords would increase, the strongest in the universe would also gradually increase. When this reincarnation era ends, humanity would probably be the strongest power in the universe, even stronger than the two sacred lands. Humanity, fate, turning point. The ancestor listened quietly. Even though he didn't know if he could escape the suppression and live, he could still see how strong humanity would be after countless years. Luo Feng's preaching this time would have a profound effect. Luo Feng first used the simplest language to summarize, after which he began to explain the larger theories in detail. After which, he began to explain the many difficulties of each theory, how to break through, etc. Universe Lord, to the strongest in the universe. Just the theory guidance alone took Luo Feng more than 3 months before he finished, of which the path from the origin laws took up almost all the time. From God energies, it only took half a day. As it was too difficult to start from God energy in the ancient civilization, there were very few trainers. Naturally, there was very little information, and the time spent on it was also very little. These are all theory guidance, thought guidance. Luo Feng smiled. Hence, I finish so quickly. When I return from the universe boat, I'll bring back some detailed inheritance techniques, like battle techniques, etc., for everyone. However, every technique is incomparably vast. If you just rely on words or memory, it'll be too slow. One had to know. Luo Feng relied on the memory stone to transfer large amounts of memories into his mind, and it took him so long. A vast and powerful technique. To explain even 10,000 eras wouldn't be enough. Similar to the God Eye clan's combined attack? Some special techniques. Battle techniques of the strongest in the universe? Everyone looked forward to it. Luo Feng laughed loudly. Strongest in the universe? From the undying level to the pinnacle of the strongest in the universe, these complete techniques, all sorts of battle technique. Even if there are tens of thousands of them, it doesn't matter, there's plenty. Countless manuals, it was indeed a vast amount. Luo Feng had seen all 360 blade manuals before during the selection of the basic inheritances. Now that he had become the owner of the inheritance space, those over 100 million inheritance stones, some of them even contained over 1,000 different techniques. Duan Dong River's collection was simply too much. Of course, the many techniques are only for reference, to let everyone know the methods of the strongest in the universe. Once you see more, you may get some inspiration. Luo Feng said, theory guidance, technique reference, the rest will depend on yourselves. This is after all a huge threshold. The difficulty is much harder than becoming a universe knight or universe lord. External support is secondary, everything depends on yourself. Including the primal chaos city leader, everyone was deep in thought. These 3 months had a huge influence on them, many of them knew how to work hard, as for whether they succeeded or not, it depended on themselves. After all, knowing and being able to do it were two different things. Universe boat, ice fire region, tomb boat, within the inheritance space training space. Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. It's finally finished. Luo Feng shook his head helplessly. I didn't expect the Creator huge axe to be so hard to deal with. Teaching the teachers how to become the strongest in the universe only took 3 months. But to gigantic axe, the cultivation of the universe's strongest expert to the extreme, it took him 12 years. Teaching the primal chaos city leader, darkness lord and the others, Luo Feng's blood boiled. He was filled with anticipation for humanity's future. However, teaching huge axe, even though he was excited at the start, he got tired later on. I'll continue my research. Luo Feng immediately immersed himself in his study. He accepted the foundations of an entire ancient civilization. How vast was it? Even though it was all in his memories, the research was indeed long. Luo Feng had no choice but to make some choices. His focus was mainly on close combat blade techniques and spirit weapons. Year 9106 of Luo Feng becoming an inheritor. My research has ended. Luo Feng opened his eyes. Even though I know a lot, no matter how much I know, it won't increase my strength. I still have to train. Knowing was useless. Only by knowing could it work. East Breaking Rivers Core 3 Absolute Arts Annihilation, East Flower and Undying River. He knew of them, but he hadn't learned them yet. And the long years of research that he had planned out for himself, the path of his blade technique, his spirit weapon path, etc., his own path, he had already decided on it, but he hadn't taken a single step. Annihilation is the most heaven-defying absolute art. It can instantly explode with unbelievable strength. Right now, I've just entered the universe's strongest level of blade techniques. Even though my god energy is weak, I'm still at the pinnacle of level 5. The moment I use the 3rd generation ancestors' absolute art annihilation, it's just that the price is too high, the consumption of my god body is too ridiculous. East Flower is quite important to me too. As for Undying River, I'm not in a rush. I have many bodies now. There's no need to train Undying River. When the many clones combine and become the strongest person in the universe, at that time, only the main body will need to cultivate the Undying River. Luo Feng temporarily placed Undying River aside. He began to train Annihilation and East Flower. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1278. Within the East Emperor Cosmos, there was a cluster of palaces built on the peak of a mountain. The entire cluster of palaces was divided into 9 areas. If one were to look down from the sky, they would look like a huge mutated beast. The entire cluster of palaces was emitting boundless baleful aura. This was where the North True Star Lord resided. There were a large number of undying servants and disciples seeking guidance here. Main Palace. The North True Star Lord's body sat high up in the main palace. His eyelids drooped as he continued to explain the origin laws. And the hundreds of supremacies sitting in the Great Hall didn't dare to be distracted at all. They listened carefully. The knights below were shocked to realize that the North True Star Lord had suddenly stopped speaking. They couldn't help but look curiously at him. We'll stop here. You all can leave first. The North True Star Lord suddenly ordered. Even though they were all stunned, they still shouted respectfully, Yes, teacher. after which they all left the palace. Only the North True Star Lord was left high up in the main palace. Ancestor. The North True Star Lord shouted respectfully. I ordered you to bring 10 Universe Lords to guard the Flame Ice region. Have you discovered the Milky Way leader Luo Feng? A green silhouette appeared. It was the East Emperor Ancestor. And the space around the palace had changed. Even if someone looked in from the outside, they wouldn't be able to discover anything. The East Emperor Ancestor's voice rumbled and resounded within the palace. The North True Star Lord bowed and said respectfully, Ancestor, ever since the inheritance ended and my clan's Blood Knight and the others failed, I've been following your orders to keep watch over the Flame Ice region. I've never slacked at all. From the tomb boat to every direction, there are Universe Lords watching. No matter how strong that Milky Way leader Luo Feng is, he can't just leave quietly. However, after so long, I've yet to discover that Milky Way leader Luo Feng. It looks like he hasn't left the tomb boat yet. We can't be careless. The East Emperor Ancestor said indifferently. Maybe another Universe Lord brought him out. I've already considered all the possibilities, the North True Star Lord said. Hiding in another warrior's world ring and quietly escaping, this is indeed a possibility. However, ever since our investigations began, we've stopped anyone who tries to enter the vicinity of the tomb boat from other regions. After so long, we've already stopped 39 Masters of the Universe and 2 of the strongest experts of the universe. Up until now, no one has dared to force their way in against the might of my clan. No one can go in. Naturally, no one can take Luo Feng away. North True Star Lord said respectfully. East Emperor Ancestor nodded in satisfaction. This Luo Feng has to be captured. The inheritance of the East Duan River was extremely important to him. Capture him at all costs. Yes. The Northern True Star Lord respectfully replied. East Deity Progenitor nodded indifferently. To the East Tharch Sacred Ground, even the death of 100 Masters of the Universe was nothing. Because the East Tharch Sacred Ground cosmos could only accommodate a limited number of Universe Lords, and because it had existed for so long, it had long accumulated a large number of quasi-universe lords. For example, Venerable Bloodjade was a quasi-universe lord. Once other universe lords perished, a batch of quasi-universe lords would very quickly break through. To the high and mighty East Deity Primogenitor, he knew very well what the inheritance of the broken East River meant. As long as he obtained a small portion, he would benefit endlessly. Deep within the Universe Boat region, within the vast Ice Flame region, there were no warriors around the tomb boat, and the Northern True Star Lord and the 10 Universe Lords were hidden and scattered, each monitoring their own regions. The Primogenitor just came to find me. Northern True Star Lord spoke through his communication card. Again? During the time we've been here, the Primogenitor has already come to find you 3 times. It seems like the Primogenitor really values this. Ever since I've grown up, I've never seen the Primogenitor so value anything. How can we not value it? Look, the 10 of us are definitely the top 20 Universe Lords in the East Tharch Sacred Ground. 3 of us already have ultimate treasures. And now? The Primogenitor even specially took out 7 ultimate treasures from the long years of accumulation of our race, and gave them to us. Northern True Star Lord, along with the 10 of us, we all have ultimate treasures. In the entire universe, see, the only ones who can do this are the Purple Moon Sacred Ground and us. For the Purple Moon Sacred Ground to take out so many ultimate treasures, they probably have to go all out. Even for our race, it's a huge burden. We all have ultimate treasures in our hands. Even if we meet the strongest of the universe, we won't fear them. Against Luo Feng? What's more, in just a moment, the Northern True Star Lord will be able to break through the restrictions of the origin laws and swiftly catch up to him. Northern True is the main force this time. These Universe Lords all had high statuses. Even when conversing with the strongest of the universe like the Northern True Star Lord, they were usually on equal footing. They were the true elites of the East Tharch sacred ground, yet they were here to capture Luo Feng. One could see just how determined the East Tharch primogenitor was. Tomb boat within the training space of the inheritance space. The journey of training is long and arduous. The third-generation ancestor's absolute art is even more profound. I can't just stay here forever. Luo Feng, who was sitting crossed-legged on the grass, opened his eyes and frowned. And I still have to create my blade technique, etc. I can clearly feel that my origin laws are too weak. Origin laws were one of his weaknesses, as he had to recognize the white feather, hence his golden space beast god path, had always been stuck at the 7th level, not daring to train at all. And as he hadn't fully comprehended the golden space laws, when he researched the techniques, there would always be a knot in his heart. It would always affect him greatly, and as his research got deeper, this effect would become more obvious. I have to get out as soon as possible. I have to get the white feather as soon as possible, and then immediately train the golden space path. I'll first break through to Universe Lord before anything else, Luo Feng thought. Breaking through to Universe Lord, his god energy would transform. God energy represented his body. It also represented his soul. His soul itself becoming stronger, his consciousness becoming stronger, it would all be helpful to his training. And after his origin laws reached perfection, studying the techniques would be much easier. And he was planning to completely comprehend the 10 basic laws of gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, time and space. His goal was very far, his plan was huge, he had to improve quickly. It was better to get the white feather and break through to Universe Lord as soon as possible. As for the tomb boat and the inheritance space, I'll bring everything with me. When I return to the primal universe, I'll place the tomb boat and inheritance space in my god country. That's the safest place. With my current strength, just my earth body alone can unleash the pinnacle of level 5 power. If it's the endless ocean, even if I use annihilation to madly burn my god energy, with the endless ocean's boundless energy, burning it won't be much. Even the strongest warrior in the universe would be able to fight his way out. Luo Feng was very confident. The 9 Underworld Lord was a universe lord, with the 9 Underworld Ocean. He didn't fear the strongest warrior in the universe. Luo Feng, even though his god energy was weaker, his blade techniques had already entered the universe's strongest level. He could completely make up for the difference in god energy, and with annihilation, he could explode with power, or even be harder to deal with. Of course, only the endless ocean was powerful after all. Luo Feng's earth body and golden horned beast body, if they used annihilation, their god bodies would be consumed too quickly, they wouldn't easily use it. Inheritance space. Luo Feng took a step and passed through the space door, arriving at the treasure space within the inheritance space. Treasure. Luo Feng looked up. His surroundings were empty space. Before him was a majestic treasure mountain. The entire mountain glowed with dazzling lights that shot into the sky, emitting endless power. Every beam was so strong it made Luo Feng's heart tremble. Almost like hundreds of the strongest warriors of the universe were exploding, that overwhelming power. A total of 322 treasures. Luo Feng held his breath. Over the generations of Duan-Dong River, countless years of accumulation, finally accumulating these 322 treasures. It's a pity I can only take one, and while I'm alive, I'll have to return one. This was the rule. Over the generations of Duan-Dong River, they would usually only take one. If one's strength was high enough, they could even return 2 or 3, and that would be considered a contribution to Duan-Dong River. All of this would be recorded on the stone tablet of the treasure mountain. These treasures had a special name in the ancient civilization. Elemental embryo. Elemental, in the ancient civilization, had an extremely respected meaning. Any treasure with this word was the pinnacle. Embryo, it meant an embryo. To a strong warrior, different times required different treasures. For example, if an undying was given a powerful treasure, he wouldn't be able to use it. Hence, any treasure that was formed couldn't be used by a strong warrior continuously. Hence, the term elemental embryo came into being. The elemental embryo was a special treasure that wasn't fully formed yet. Even undyings could start using it, and one could infuse one's own comprehensions into it, causing the treasure to have more engravings. For example, the Star Pagoda had layers of engravings, but the elemental embryo didn't even have one. It was empty, just relying on its own basic strength. It was already extremely strong, and the user could constantly infuse engravings into it, just like crafting treasures, easily infusing engravings into the elemental embryo. For example, Luo Feng had created the 3 great blade techniques before. They were split into Mist Void, Gold Universe and Nirvana New Life, of which Nirvana New Life had already entered the strongest level of the universe. Even Luo Feng had to concentrate all his energy to instantly draw out the incomparably huge engravings and unleash this move. And the moment these engravings were infused into the elemental embryo, then all he had to do was activate it. He could completely split his attention to control the other treasures in battle, and Nirvana New Life borrowed the elemental embryo's power to unleash even stronger power. This was the elemental embryo. It could constantly grow. As one's strength grew, one could infuse even more important techniques into it. Even the elemental embryo could accompany a strong warrior all the way to the pinnacle of the ancient civilization. At that time, one elemental embryo would also grow into the most terrifying treasure of the ancient civilization. I can only choose one. What should I choose? Blade embryo? Luo Feng looked at the treasure mountain. He really wanted to take a few more. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1279. However, this treasure mountain before him was left behind by the third ancestor, hence it had many restrictions. Every inheritor had the inheritance imprint to retrieve one of the embryos. Without the imprint, there was no way to retrieve such a treasure. Luo Feng walked on the treasure mountain, looking around as he walked. Beams of light shot up into the sky, extremely powerful. The moment they exploded, even the strongest warriors in the universe would be instantly killed. However, due to the special restrictions of the treasure mountain, every single embryo was suppressed. Spirit weapons. Close combat weapons. So many special weapons. This belongs to the machinery category. Luo Feng looked at them one by one. For example, there was a spherical-shaped huge fort. Its true size was comparable to a universe boat. This huge fort had 18 levels of attack units. Every level had blank engravings, requiring the user to research and fill in the blank. There was also a special ship body. This ship body was actually a huge factory world. Within it were many requirements to create treasures. There was also a golden egg. It was a terrifying Jia egg from the ancient civilization. It was extremely weak after being nurtured. However, it had limitless growth potential. If nurtured, it could be similar to the Bug Clan's Bug Sea tactics. It could also be used as an elite. It could be said that it was countless times stronger than the Bug Clan Queen's nurturing ability. Its value was completely comparable to an embryo. There was also a huge human-shaped mech. That human-shaped mech could be used as armor. It could also be used as a mech armor or as a puppet. The different uses also determined how the human-shaped mech was designed and modified, etc. Its countless internal parts had no engravings on them. There were even many parts that could be disassembled and modified. It was filled with limitless possibilities. In the ancient civilization, it was mainly split into close combat, long-range, machinery, treasures, and miscellaneous. The first 4 were the main ones, while the miscellaneous was the combination of all sorts of special method. And every type could be split into many different types. Putting aside the details and complexity of melee and long-range weapons, just the mechanical category alone had many tactical styles, such as the mechanical sea tactic, body tactic, fortress tactic, and many others. Different tactical styles had different elemental embryos. Just on this treasure mountain alone, there were 72 types of elemental embryos for the mechanical class. No wonder machinery was so prosperous in the ancient civilization. Luo Feng looked at the mechanical embryos, his eyes filled with greed. This power is too great. Even though my origin laws and techniques are weaker with these machines, I can easily kill enemies that are higher levels. Unfortunately, I can only choose one. Luo Feng stood in the middle of the treasure mountain and looked at a huge stone blade. This stone saber seemed to be carved out of a huge rock, and it was incomparably tall. Although it was inserted halfway up the mountain, its grip position was as high as the peak of the entire treasure mountain. The entire stone blade emitted a light that shot towards the sky. Luo Feng fell in love with the appearance of the stone blade. Among the origin embryos, there are a total of 3 saber embryos. There's the broad saber type, and there's the one that's as thin as a cicada's wing. I still like this one. The more Luo Feng looked at it, the more he liked it. It's very similar to the ghost blade I've loved since I was young. However, the handle is a bit bigger and can be held with both hands. That's it. Luo Feng immediately went forward, held his breath, and slowly extended his hand to touch the gigantic stone blade. The moment he touched it, a thin layer immediately appeared on the surface of the stone blade. On the thin layer were countless origin law engravings. Compared to the law engravings he saw in the ice mountain before, it was obviously much more complicated. Rumble, the entire treasure mountain began to tremble. The corners of the treasure mountain began to glow, the origin law engravings lit up and resonated with the thin layer on the stone blade. An inheritance mark appeared on Luo Feng's forehead. It formed a resonance, following which the thin layer and the light dissipated. Luo Feng's life imprint was already imprinted on the huge stone blade. Embryos, one needs to pay a huge price to create them. An ancient voice resounded in Luo Feng's ears. The current Duan-Dong River, remember, it will be your lifelong companion, your life and death friend, treat it well. This voice, Luo Feng was slightly stunned. Is it the third ancestor who built the treasure mountain? Small. Luo Feng's thoughts move. Immediately the majestic stone blade began to shrink. In an instant it was only about half his height. Luo Feng was filled with excitement and anticipation. Looking at the blade in his hand, the original stone appearance had shrunk, the huge stone engravings had shrunk into a beautiful scabbard engraving. Yes, the stone appearance was actually just the color of the scabbard and handle. Hua! Luo Feng gently pulled out the blade. The blade left the scabbard. Chi! The formless glow of the blade caused a space scar to appear in the surrounding space. This is the inheritance space. Luo Feng was shocked. The inheritance space was a precious treasure, its interior was extremely stable. Even when he created the blade technique Nirvana New Rebirth during the inheritance, when he practiced the blade technique, one blade only caused ripples in the space. It was impossible to cut it open. But now, the blade of this saber embryo had caused visible saber marks to appear in the space. That was too terrifying. Even if I don't use my technique with this blade there, any universe lord who would dare touch it would be injured. Luo Feng was overjoyed. If I infuse it with engravings and use my god energy, its power would be even more terrifying. Such a blade, the first technique, will be my strongest blade technique. Nirvana Rebirth. Luo Feng felt that using the Misty Void and Universe of Gold was a blasphemy to the blade itself. He could easily use them, so there was no need to forcefully add the Universe of Gold engravings onto it. Only Nirvana Rebirth had the right to do so. Luo Feng used his god energy to activate it. Immediately the blade's sharp body began to emit engravings. With the engravings, the entire blade had a mysterious and special feel to it. "This is the first engraving," Luo Feng said softly. "The first blade I've used since the beginning of my life is Blood Shadow. This blade embryo will probably accompany me for the rest of my life, until I reach my peak, or until I die." Luo Feng lowered his head and stroked the blade. "Then its name shall also be called Blood Shadow." With a thought, a simple Chinese word was left on the blade. Blood Shadow. Ever since he had grown up, he had used many blade. However, as he grew stronger, he had finally found a blade that he could always use. Blood Shadow Blade. The power of the Blood Shadow Blade is hard to fathom. Unless I want to kill my opponent, it's best not to unsheath it, Luo Feng thought. This blade was the only weapon he had obtained after becoming Duan Dong He. It was also an extremely powerful weapon. Without any techniques or godly energy to activate it, it was already able to cause cracks in the surrounding space. It was already comparable to a pinnacle level 5 universe lord. In the entire universe C, even the most powerful treasures, if they didn't activate them, wouldn't be this strong. This was a treasure that was truly above the most powerful treasures. Even though it only had 1 engravings, its power would still be unbelievably strong. The previous generations of Duan Dong He seniors, even if you look down on the most powerful treasures, you can still place them in the inheritance space. Luo Feng was helpless. Other than the most precious elemental embryos, there isn't a single powerful treasure. The memory stone left behind by Duan Dong He before had recorded it very clearly. The previous generations of Duan Dong He had only given 1 elemental embryos. As for the other treasures? They all had to be fought for by the previous generations. After all, if the previous generations left behind treasures, then the later generations wouldn't have to fight for them, they wouldn't be able to grow at all. A silver-armored Luo Feng left the treasure space and arrived at the main space of the entire inheritance space, standing in mid-air. "Come!" Luo Feng waved his hand and a beam of light flew over from afar, floating before him. This was an octagonal plate. This was the control core of the tomb boat. The previous generations of Duan Dong He didn't leave any machinery for me in the inheritance space. The tomb boat, however, can be considered a machine. And my Wu Killer Wings can also be considered a machine. Luo Feng easily absorbed the control core of the tomb boat. If one were to analyze carefully, the most valuable treasures on him were naturally the inheritance space and the Blood Shadow Blade, followed by the Star Pagoda and Wu Killer Wings, followed by the tomb boat, of which the Wu Killer Wings and the tomb boat were both mechanical type. The tomb boat naturally didn't need much to be said. Even though his own strength wasn't that strong, he could still control the dangerous mechanisms within the boat. It was without a doubt a machine. The Wu Killer Wings belonged to the main body tactical type of machine. This type of machine was usually used to support the user, making the user's battle strength stronger. If the Wu Killer Wings only had 6 pairs of wings, without the source, then it would only be considered a treasure weapon. However, with the source, it was different. The source was similar to an engine, an energy storage unit. A strong warrior's god energy, through the source, would transform into terrifying energy, and then be released through the 6 pairs of white wings. Fire-ice region. The tomb boat floating in mid-air, suddenly, shwa! It vanished into thin air. A man in silver armor and boots appeared out of thin air, carrying a stone saber on his back. From what the Primal Chaos City leader teacher said, it seems like the East Emperor Sacred Land and Purple Moon Sacred Land have warriors hiding in this area. They seem to want to capture the inheritors. Luo Feng's gaze swept his surroundings. The tomb boat and inheritance space were naturally kept. However, the current me isn't afraid of them. I hope they don't force me to use the Blood Shadow Blade. Luo Feng flipped his hand and a blood-colored tower appeared before him. It was the Star Pagoda transformation. Luo Feng immediately flew in and sat on the star pagoda to fly into the distance. After comprehending the Nirvana rebirth, even if he used the Demon Destroyer armor, he would still have the pinnacle of level 5 battle strength. If he used something even more terrifying than the absolute treasures, the Blood Shadow Blade, then the current me may not be able to fight against the universe's strongest. But the universe's strongest definitely won't be able to kill me. Luo Feng was very confident. Once I become a universe lord, I'll make up for my god energy weakness. Luo Feng, who inherited the Duandong River, the moment he became a universe lord, he would definitely be the most terrifying universe lord in the history of the Universe Sea. Before, the universe lords were only divided into 6 levels. However, because of Luo Feng's existence, there would probably be 7 or even 8 levels. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1280. Just how big was the tomb boat? On the East Emperor Sacred Land side, the Northern True Star Lord and the group of absolute warriors didn't dare to let their guard down. Not mentioning other scouting methods, just with their naked eyes, they could see the tomb boat. The tomb boat has disappeared. It disappeared. Just now, the tomb boat suddenly disappeared. Quick, 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 the Milky Way leader Luo Feng must have already made his move. Everyone pay attention, don't let him escape. Northern True Star Lord and the 10 Universe Lords all became alert. Even though they could see the tomb boat with their naked eyes from where they were, the blood-colored tower Luo Feng was on was extremely small, they couldn't see it with their naked eyes. As for their other scouting methods, they didn't dare to cover the area where the tomb boat was before, because they were afraid of angering Duandong He. All of you keep watch. Northern True Star Lord immediately became nervous, ordering, "Don't be careless. The moment you discover any palace-type treasures or other flying objects, you have to stop them. Don't let Luo Feng escape." "Yes. Yes." All of them replied. "The Ancestor has already instructed us many times. This matter is extremely important." Northern True Star Lord shouted. And in the outer regions, like Purple Moon Sacred Land and the First Reincarnation Era, many powers are hiding. They also want to capture the final inheritor. Don't let the other powers take advantage of it. Northern True, we all have powerful treasures. In the entire Flame Ice region, the other powers can't compare to us. How can they compete with us? It was about to happen. The tomb boat that was floating majestically in mid-air suddenly disappeared. Not only did the East Emperor Sacred Land discover it, even the further Purple Moon Sacred Land and many other powers from the First Reincarnation Era discovered it too. The originally calm powers were now like water, the water seemed to be boiling. The tomb boat has already disappeared. The inheritor is about to appear. Our race's last hope to escape the reincarnation cycle, capture the inheritor. No matter how strong the inheritor's potential is, no matter how much of a threat he poses, no matter which warrior wants to grow, he needs time. Even if he obtains the inheritance within a short period of time, his strength won't be that strong. The moment he reaches his limit, our race will perish. Before that, there's no need to care about anything else. No need to care about the East Emperor Sacred Land, Purple Moon Sacred Land. So what if they're the Sacred Land universe? Snatch. This is our last hope. The first True Lord, third True Lord, fourth True Lord, fifth True Lord and sixth True Lord looked at each other. Ever since the inheritance, the other 2 True Lord ranks had fallen, and the entire Holy-Eyed clan only had these 5 True Lord ranks left. In order to capture the inheritor, this time, all 5 of them had come. It was just that the outcome of being the tallest tree in the forest would be tragic. The Holy-Eyed clan, who had suffered once, was very low-key this time around. Let's wait and see the battle between the Purple Moon Sacred Ground and the East Tharch Sacred Ground. There are also the other forces from my First Reincarnation Era. The fight for the successor this time won't be that simple. That's right. Since he obtained the inheritance of the East Cleaving River, he definitely has a way to protect himself. It won't be easy to capture the inheritor. Let's just wait and see. When the time comes, the 5 of us will join forces and capture the inheritor with absolute strength. Yes. The eyes of the 5 true Lord ranks burned. This time, it was a battle that could change their fate. Suddenly, the entire realm of fire-ice was in chaos. Many forces hid themselves, and most of them didn't even know who the inheritor was. However, it didn't matter. All they had to do was capture the inheritor. If the Blood Jade Knight appears, then we'll capture him. If the Milky Way Luo Feng appears, then we'll capture him. These were the thoughts of the various races. Luo Feng had long known that the outside world was filled with trap. The human race had long told him that if he wasn't confident, he should temporarily stay within the tomb boat. However, Luo Feng was extremely skilled and daring. He had complete confidence. No matter what kind of traps they have, I'll break through them. The blood-colored tower became a beam of light and rushed forward at high speed. The tiny blood-colored tower was hard to discern with the naked eye. This flying palace, I've discovered a flying palace. That's the blood-colored tower, it's Luo Feng's. Master Mia from the East Emperor's sacred land communicated to the others. He's flying towards our region. Mia, I'll rush over immediately. North True Star Lord was overjoyed, communicating. All right. Mistress Mia immediately turned into a streak of light and flew toward the tower. Rumble! 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 North True Star Lord controlled his powerful treasure, his speed swiftly breaking through the limits of the origin laws. 1,000 times the speed of light, 10,000 times the speed of light, 100,000 times the speed of light, it instantly soared. And Luo Feng was still maintaining his maximum speed of 100 times the speed of light. Master Mia hadn't even reached Luo Feng yet. North True Star Lord had already arrived. Milky Way leader, how about following me to the sacred land? Our East Emperor's sacred land's ancestor wishes to meet you. A voice resounded within the blood-colored tower. HM? Within the blood-colored tower's control room, Luo Feng stood there with his stone blade on his back. His gaze passed through the Star Tower's barrier and looked outside. East Emperor's sacred land? Luo Feng said softly. Indeed, the number 1 power, being the first to make a move. This must be North True Star Lord. I heard he obstructed the other parties for a long time on the tomb boat. North True Star Lord. Luo Feng's voice resounded. I still have urgent matters to attend to in the primal universe. Once I return, it won't be too late to head to the East Emperor's sacred land. How about that? Looks like Milky Way leader, you don't even want to give face to our sacred land's ancestor. North True Star Lord sneered within. Return to the primal universe? Once Luo Feng really returned to the primal universe, the other parties wouldn't be able to enter the primal universe. Capturing him would be impossible. Don't tell me your East Emperor's sacred land invites guests like this? Luo Feng was still calm and confident. Then don't blame me. The Northern True Star Lord rode on the gigantic black multifaceted sphere and arrived above the blood-colored tower. Moreover, one of the sides of the gigantic black sphere suddenly cracked open and a powerful suction force suddenly acted on the Star Tower, trying to forcefully suck the Star Tower in. Absorb. North True Star Lord used all his strength to control it. The blood-colored tower that was being devoured suddenly disappeared into thin air, revealing an even smaller tomb boat. When he was being swallowed earlier, Luo Feng didn't want to recklessly use the Star Tower. Even though the Star Tower was an absolute treasure and should be able to withstand it, the Star Tower required God energy to activate. This time's heaven and earth net, relying on the Star Tower would probably be very tiring. As for the mechanical type tomb boat, it was much easier. The tomb boat was modified by Duandong River. No matter what kind of absolute treasure it was, it would be impossible to forcefully absorb it. and he only needed to expend a little god energy, and he could borrow the energy of the tomb boat itself to activate it. It was easy and powerful. Tomb boat. When the Northern True Star Lord saw the ship below, his expression changed. This special tomb ship was modified from the broken East River. The god-eyed race's second True Lord and seventh True Lord had died in it. Get in. North True Star Lord tried his best to absorb the tomb boat through the absolute treasure. Rumble, no matter how it was swallowed, the tomb boat began to madly expand. The fist-sized tomb boat before, in the blink of an eye, became a huge ship that was about 100 billion kilometers long. The huge tomb boat began to fly majestically, completely ignoring the North True Star Lord's absorption. Not good. North True Star Lord understood. It seemed like it was impossible to directly absorb the tomb boat. Block it. Rumble, the Northern True Star Lord directly rode on the gigantic black sphere and smashed it into the black sphere. How fast was his flying speed? The tomb boat could only maintain 100 times the speed of light. There was no way to dodge. Just like Mars colliding with Earth, the huge black ball smashed into the tomb boat. Dong! The tomb boat slightly shook and deflected the force of the collision, continuing to move forward majestically. It can't be blocked. North True Star Lord was anxious. This Luo Feng's god energy activating the tomb boat, it's actually this strong? The tomb boat was a mechanical type. Part of it relied on god energy, the other part relied on the boat's own strength. This was yet another modified one. Whether it was resistance, force of impact, flight, etc., it was much stronger than normal tomb boats by tens to hundreds of times. If a normal tomb boat was an ordinary boat, then this tomb boat that was personally modified by Duandong He would be a universe ship. Naturally it couldn't be compared. North True Star Lord, I'll block him. Lady Mia had already flown over. Quickly trap him. North True Star Lord said. Go! A huge purple light immediately broke through the air and flew over. The huge purple light continued to grow bigger and bigger, following which it enveloped the tomb boat. This enormous purple light was actually a strange net, a supreme treasure that was specially used to bind and trap enemies. Bind. Lady Mia tried her best to control it. However, no matter how much the purple net tried to tighten and block, the tomb boat continued to move forward majestically. Even though the surface was covered by the purple net, it was like an additional layer of decoration, not affecting it at all. I can't block it. Lady Mia was anxious. Then attack. North True Star Lord was anxious too. He couldn't swallow it. He couldn't forcefully block it either. Even a treasure used to restrict and trap enemies couldn't do it. Then how could he block Luo Feng? This tomb boat completely isolates the godly energy. North True Star Lord was anxious. He immediately became a glaring light, and a huge arc of light slashed fiercely against the tomb boat. The tomb boat shook slightly, after which it continued to move forward as though nothing had happened. It's useless. North True Star Lord stared. Material attacks are useless too. Any technique was useless against this tomb boat. Even trying to trap it couldn't be done. The tomb boat didn't seem to care at all. It continued to move forward at high speed, heading into the distance, and in the distance there was still the purple moon sacred land and the large group of absolute beings from the first cycle. Haha, this tomb boat is really strong. Maybe if I just control it like this and charge forward, I'll be able to charge out of the universe boat. Luo Feng was relaxed. This sort of charging forward, ignoring all treasures and the strongest beings in the universe felt really good. This was the charm of a mechanical treasure. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1281. Rumble, the huge tomb boat advanced majestically, unstoppable. What do we do, Beijing? Mia's leader asked mentally. If we don't stop him and allow him to advance like this, he'll be out of our control. Outside, there's the Purple Moon Sacred Land and the powers from the first reincarnation era. There's a large group of absolute warriors there. Even the strongest of the universe has 20 to 30 of them. I know. Beijing was anxious too. He was very clear on the situation. Even though Luo Feng was the inheritor, the powers of the universe ocean didn't fear him at all. Not even mentioning those from the first reincarnation era who didn't fear anything in the face of death. Just the two sacred land universes. The orders of the two primogenitors were naturally even more fearless. This time, the East Emperor's sacred land relied on their many treasures. Relying on the fact that the other powers weren't united, they were able to control the innermost region. Of course, the other powers were willing to stay outside. Other than their lack of unity and strength, the more important reason was, they didn't believe that the inheritor of the Duandong River would be caught so easily. If the situation really went south, they would definitely rush over. What do we do? What do we do? North True Star Lord was anxious and worried. Simultaneously, he was thinking of ways to stop Luo Feng and trap him. Go! North True Star Lord stood in mid-air and waved fiercely. The huge multi-faced black ball immediately became a glaring black light, and as it flew, the black light got thicker and thicker in terms of size. It was even bigger than the tomb boat. Following which, with a rumble, it clashed with the tomb boat. The tomb boat shook, however it wasn't damaged at all. Primogenitor, that Milky Way leader Luo Feng is driving the tomb boat out. However, I have no way to stop him. Even the most powerful treasures couldn't stop it. What do we do now? North True Star Lord was anxious. Within the Sacred Land universe, his body immediately asked the East Emperor Ancestor. Can't catch him? Can't stop him? The East Emperor Ancestor appeared in mid-air. There's nothing we can do. This tomb boat is much stronger than the ones we obtained in the past. The Northern True Star Lord said. After being modified by the East Duan River, this tomb boat is no longer ordinary. Whether it's capturing, trapping, binding, or soul attacks, material attacks, everything is useless. The East Emperor Ancestor was worried too. What to do? This time, he had already sent out his strongest team, with 10 rank 6 Universe Lords working with Beijing. Furthermore, he had given the Northern True Star Lord several supreme treasures. Even if the enemy was using a supreme treasure palace, the Northern True Star Lord should be able to easily trap them. Broken East River, as expected of the Broken East River. East Deity Primogenitor frowned. You've been following that Milky Way leader Luo Feng. East Deity Primogenitor shouted. Follow him at all times. This time, it's not just us, that Purple Moon also wants it. Especially those madmen from the first cycle, they are willing to use any method. Just follow and wait for the chance. If there's a chance, snatch that Luo Feng. What if we can't get it? The Northern True Star Lord asked worriedly. What a joke. This time, more than half of the universe's strongest had come from the first reincarnation era. The second reincarnation era also had several of the universe's strongest. The primeval universe might also have 1 or 2 of the universe's strongest hiding. Just this alone was already 20 to 30 universes strongest, not to mention the number of lords of the universe who were not much weaker. Once the chaos reaches a certain level, no matter how powerful the Northern True Star Lord is, he wouldn't be able to get Luo Feng to leave. If we can't get it, the East Deity Primogenitor hesitated for a moment before ordering, just do this. Hearing the East Deity Primogenitor's orders, the Northern True Star Lord was shocked. This is too. The Northern True Star Lord couldn't believe it. Do as I say. The East Deity Primogenitor ordered. Yes. The Northern True Star Lord replied respectfully. Within he muttered, what a lucky punk. The Fire-Ice region, due to the appearance of the inheritor of the ancient civilization's Duandong River, it became the region with the most warriors in the Universe Sea. It's the tomb boat. The inheritor has arrived on the tomb boat. The East Emperor's sacred land couldn't catch him, nor could they stop him. Our chance. Do it. The outer region, just the purple moon's sacred land alone, had no way to completely control it. And the various powers of the first cycle couldn't wait any longer. The strongest warriors of the universe all made their move. In mid-air, many terrifyingly powerful attacks easily caused space and time to completely distort and shatter. Some tried to swallow the tomb boat, others directly attacked to mess up the situation. The more chaotic it got, the weaker ones had a chance to fish in troubled waters. Hong. Purring. Hua! The tomb boat shook time and time again. Roar! A colossal beast that was over a light year in size roared as it approached. Its gigantic scaled wings were spread open, and its mouth was wide open, revealing an endless black hole as it bit down on the tomb boat. Purring! Hong! Hong! Almost instantly, a total of 9 supreme treasures collided with the huge mutated beast, causing it to tremble and collapse. Damn it! From afar, the first, third, fourth, fifth and sixth true lord of the holy-eyed race revealed looks of anger. Just now they saw the opportunity, saw that the tomb boat was a little out of control, and immediately acted, forming an eternal true god mutated beast to swallow it. Idiots from the holy-eyed race, you want to take the inheritor away? Dream on. From afar, a huge skeleton sitting on a white throne spoke in a hoarse voice. My bone race has been watching you for a long time. Bone race? The 5 great true lords of the holy-eyed race were even more furious. The holy-eyed race and the bone race that were born in the first reincarnation era were all heaven-defying races. When they were still living in the primeval universe, the bone race once dominated the universe, defeating many races, and was extremely arrogant. Then, the rise of the holy-eyed race. The rise of the holy-eyed race was extremely fast, quickly suppressing the bone race, and continued suppressing the bone race. The two races fought for close to 3 reincarnation eras. Previously, when the 7 great true lords joined forces, they indeed completely suppressed the bone race, but now, with 2 dead, the bone race and the holy-eyed race no longer had a hard time fighting. What a bunch of lunatics! Just now, when he was bitten by the huge mutated beast, Luo Feng was also shocked. Just as he was preparing to control the tomb boat to quickly expand and directly cause the mutated beast to collapse, but at this moment, the other strongest experts of the universe instantly attacked, causing the mutated beast to collapse. In just 10 seconds, 16 supreme treasures attacked me. Luo Feng, who was in the control hall of the tomb boat, was also shocked. Even though he had expected this to be an inescapable trap, when he actually encountered it, he was still a little shocked. After all, before this, the strongest experts of the universe were still somewhat far away from him, and normally they would not lower themselves to attack him. The only time was when the Void Demon God tried to kill him, but he was also blocked by the dual-faced Ancestor God. And the Void Demon God probably did not even take him seriously. To the Void Demon God, it was just a small matter. This time was different. This time, more than half of the strongest experts of the universe in the first reincarnation era, as well as other strongest experts of the universe, had completely made him their target, all of them madly trying to capture him. Rumble, howl, howl, all sorts of sounds. Whether it was a palace-type supreme treasure, a spirit weapon-type supreme treasure, or a close combat-type supreme treasure, one by one, they landed on the tomb boat, opening Luo Feng's eyes. The number of supreme treasures in the entire universe C was pitifully small, usually in the hands of the strongest experts of the universe. Today, more than a third of the strongest experts of the universe had gathered here. No! There's no way to even shake this tomb boat. The tomb boat doesn't even have a scratch on it, much less a crack. It even continues to fly forward, we can't even stop it. All the strongest experts of the universe first went crazy, but very quickly they realized how terrifying this tomb boat was, to the point where the large races stopped intentionally causing trouble. Before this, they were afraid that other powers would snatch away their inheritors, hence they purposely destroyed them. For example, the holy-eyed race's huge beasts were destroyed the moment they formed, but now, as though they had a tacit understanding, they stopped destroying them. Immediately, their power and methods increased explosively. I don't believe that with so many experts here, we can't even capture one tomb boat. Now that the bone race isn't causing trouble, let's quickly make our move. In an instant, the attacks became terrifying. A towering huge golden 3 fingers appeared out of nowhere, directly grabbing the tomb boat. However, the tomb boat continued to fly, forcibly bringing the huge golden 3 fingers along with it. As soon as the holy-eyed clan's giant mutated beast appeared, it bit the tomb boat. The tomb boat continued to fly, the powerful flying force. It forcibly brought the giant mutated beast along. As it flew, it continued to expand. At this moment, the strongest experts of the other universes were also anxious. They also attacked one after another, forcing the mutated beast to disintegrate. How can this tomb boat's flight force be so strong? Even if it's a palace-type supreme treasure that can block attacks from all directions, at most it can stay in place without moving. Its flight force is actually stronger than the binding force of 10 supreme treasures combined. Even if they joined forces, it would be useless. They couldn't stop it. Everyone understood. Luo Feng could completely fly like this, all the way until he flew out of the universe boat, all the way until he returned to the primal universe. Haha! Luo Feng was exceptionally carefree within the tomb boat. To be able to cause so many pinnacle existences of the universe C to be helpless, this kind of satisfaction was extremely strong. Luo Feng. A god power transmission was transmitted to the tomb boat. Luo Feng controlled the tomb boat, naturally he knew. I am the Northern True Star Lord, representing the East Emperor Ancestor. I wish to make a deal with you. The Northern True Star Lord transmitted. Deal? The East Emperor Ancestor? Luo Feng's heart moved. In a distant corner of the ice-fire region, time and space were vaguely distorted, and within this distorted time and space, there was actually a green mountain. Duandong River lineage, indeed worthy of its reputation. Mountain Guest looked from afar, smiling. Even the tomb boat modified by the previous Duandong River can be so strong. Looks like I was overthinking. I really want to see the inheritance of the Duandong River lineage. His lineage should have information on treasure forging. After all, this is one of the pinnacle inheritances. However, under the will of the primeval universe, even my disciple probably doesn't know the true depths of the Duandong River lineage. Mountain Guest shook his head slightly. After which, the distorted time and space suddenly calmed down, and Mountain Guest quietly left. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1282. No matter what the strongest warriors in the universe C did, he was still safe within the tomb boat. After all, after recognizing him as the owner, Luo Feng was very clear on the power of the tomb boat. And at this time, his thoughts were all on the North True Star Lord's proposed deal. Representing the East Emperor Ancestor to make a deal with me? Luo Feng was shocked within, thoughts flashing through his mind. Who was the East Emperor Ancestor? He was the ancestor of the oldest sacred land of the Universe C. Without a doubt, he was the richest in the Universe C. What deal? Luo Feng communicated. Outside, the North True Star Lord let out a sigh of relief. This Luo Feng finally had a reply. As long as there was a reply, it was good. He was afraid he wouldn't even care. Following which, the North True Star Lord communicated to the surface of the tomb boat. Firstly, congratulations Milky Way Lord for acquiring the Duandong River inheritance. Secondly, let's talk about the deal. Our East Emperor Ancestor said. He needs your inheritance, the inheritance you'll receive. Of course he doesn't need any treasures, just the memories will do. Memories? Luo Feng sneered. North True Star Lord, don't you think the East Emperor ancestor is too delusional? Every race fought so hard and I finally acquired the inheritance of the Duandong River. What right does your East Emperor ancestor have to take away my inheritance? Don't even think about it. Everything is negotiable. North True Star Lord wasn't angry at all, saying, Our race is the oldest sacred land of the universe sea, much older than the Purple Moon sacred land. We've also acquired many inheritances and even know some of the secrets of the universe sea. Our race has the most treasures too. As long as you agree, then our race's secret inheritances, secrets and even treasures, everything can be discussed. There's nothing to discuss, Luo Feng replied with one sentence. He was very tempted. After all, the universe sea was so mysterious, there were indeed many unknowns. The East Emperor ancestor was probably the one who knew the most. Secret inheritances, treasures, they were all temptations. However, this memory inheritance was the most important part of the Duandong River inheritance, and he swore with the inheritance mark. He couldn't go against it. North True Star Lord said, Just the memory inheritance. No need to say more. If it's just this deal, then it's fine. Luo Feng rejected. North True Star Lord muttered to himself. If that was really the case, East Deity's primogenitor didn't have much hope when he gave the order. Furthermore, East Deity's primogenitor even said that this kind of ancient inheritance that only had one inheritor in every generation would definitely have a way to prevent the inheritance from being leaked. What about the inheritance of memories? The Northern True Star Lord asked. Luo Feng's heart moved. He wasn't in a rush to reject. Which part does the East Emperor ancestor want? The Northern True Star Lord was secretly delighted. As long as they could talk, there was hope. Of course, it's cultivation experience. The Northern True Star Lord said, My clan's primogenitor wishes to obtain the experiences related to cultivation at a higher level, as well as the inheritance of memories. Your ancestor really knows what's the most precious. Luo Feng laughed. In the inheritance of memories, it was divided into the core of the core, the three great absolute skills left behind by the third-generation martial ancestor. The normal core memories were the records of Duandong River's training experiences as well as other absolute warriors' training experiences, etc. The normal ones that could be leaked were over 100 million memory stones. These were all shallow and basic inheritances. There were even very few that surpassed the true God level. It could be said to be the basics of the basic. Without a doubt, the experience of training to an extremely high level was extremely precious, even if it wasn't from Duandong River. The moment it was gathered by the past generations of Duandong River, it would be categorized into the core inheritance. That East Deity's primogenitor wanted these training memories. He was very clear on its importance. It was a pity, extremely high-level training memories. They were all part of the core. Luo Feng couldn't leak them at all. Maybe I can trick him a little. Luo Feng thought, My clan's foundations are weak, we have very few treasures. Maybe I can trick a few powerful treasures from the East Deity ancestor, then our human race will immediately become much stronger. Anyway, other than himself, no one else knew what was going on with the Duandong River inheritance. Hence there was a chance of success. So what if he failed? Would the East Deity ancestor, who had always been in the Sacred Land universe, be able to rush out? Whether it was the inheritance of the tomb boat, or the capture of him now, the two ancestors never came out of the Sacred Land universe. Obviously it wasn't that they didn't want to come out, but there was some reason that made them unable or unwilling to come out. Even the Duandong River inheritance couldn't force them out. Then even if he tricked a few powerful treasures, why would the East Deity ancestor come out? Part of the inheritance? Many thoughts flashed past Luo Feng's mind. He immediately organized his thoughts and said coldly, My Duandong River inheritance, even I don't have the right to leak it out. There's a chance. North True Star Lord was overjoyed within. He was entrusted by the East Deity Ancestor, hence he knew quite a bit. You can't leak it, so I won't force you, Lord of the Milky Way. My primogenitor only needs cultivation experiences and memories. Considering how ancient your East Break River lineage is, I'm sure you've collected the cultivation experiences of other super-existences. Just bring the experiences from the past generations of Duandong River to trade with my clan. You know so much. Luo Feng was shocked within. It was a pity that the East Deity Ancestor didn't know that even the Duandong River training experiences were included in the core inheritance. The East Deity Ancestor is indeed the East Deity Ancestor. He knows so much. Luo Feng said, if it's not the Duandong River, there are some. North True Star Lord was filled with anticipation and excitement. However, not many. There's only a total of 3 absolute beings training inheritances. Luo Feng said. I reckon there's more than 3. North True Star Lord guessed, however he didn't probe further. Milky Way leader. Name your conditions and my ancestor will take these 3 inheritances. North True Star Lord said. Let's talk about the conditions later. Luo Feng asked, don't tell me your East Deity Ancestor doesn't know that these memories that surpass the strongest in the universe are influenced by the primal universe willpower. Haha, he knows, of course he knows. North True Star Lord said directly, however your Duandong River should be using memory stones or similar memory storage methods. Your current strength isn't enough, hence you won't be able to know the rest of the information. However, my ancestor has long surpassed the rebirth cycle. If you give the memory stones or similar storage items to my ancestor, he will naturally be able to view them. Luo Feng was stunned. Right. He couldn't see it himself, but a warrior that had surpassed the rebirth cycle could. Can we discuss the details of the deal now? North True Star Lord asked. 10 absolute treasures. Your clan's secret inheritance. Universe C secrets. Luo Feng said immediately. The Northern True Star Lord was startled. Ruthless enough. He really dared to ask. 10 absolute treasures? Even for the East Emperor Sacred Land, because the ancestor never left the Sacred Land universe, only universe lords roamed the Universe C. Hence, over the long years, the number of absolute treasures collected was very few, and they usually belonged to the Universe Lord himself, hence the clan's storage was pitifully small. If it was like the Purple Moon Sacred Land, they would probably have to steal the treasures of the Universe Lords and the strongest in the universe to gather enough. East Emperor Sacred Land? Their storage would be almost depleted. This is too. North True Star Lord wanted Luo Feng to lower his conditions. My clan knows quite a lot of secret inheritances and Universe C secrets. What inheritance, secrets? Those are just supplementary. Luo Feng shouted. Your clan's secret inheritance, can it compare to what I have? Can it compare to the inheritance I have? As for the secrets, that's a secret from countless years ago, it's just to satisfy my curiosity. Whether I know or not, it's just a small problem. North True Star Lord was helpless. 10 absolute treasures, not 1 less. Palace type, spirit weapon type, domain type, soul type, there has to be at least 1 of each. Luo Feng said directly. If there's 1 less, there's no room for discussion. North True Star Lord was so angry he wanted to roar. Was it easy? Even the strongest in the universe had to risk their lives to obtain the absolute treasures. How could they be so easy to obtain? Their few strongest in the East Emperor Sacred Land lost their small universe and were weaker, hence they rarely went out. As for the group of universe lords who went out to fight for treasures, they usually couldn't compete with the strongest in the universe. Purely relying on the accumulation of time, they were able to accumulate these absolute treasures. Was it easy? Luo Feng's demand was exorbitant and he wanted 10? He didn't understand. even with the 7 true lords of the Holly-Eyed clan and the many universe lords fighting for 3 reincarnation eras, they could only gather about 10 absolute treasures. Especially after the tomb boat incident with the 2 true lords falling, they probably wouldn't even be able to gather 10. Quickly make your decision, I don't have time to waste. Luo Feng said. Your demands are too high, I'll ask the ancestor. North True Star Lord said. Quickly go. Luo Feng was confident, even the Holly-Eyed clan could gather close to 10 absolute treasures. How could the East Emperor's sacred land not be able to? And for this mission, the sacred land already had many absolute treasures. Taking out 10, even though it was extremely painful for the East Emperor's sacred land, it didn't force them to the point where all the universe lords had to gather. East Emperor's sacred land universe. Within the main palace of the North True Star Lord. Ancestor. North True Star Lord looked at the East Emperor ancestor before him. The 3? The East Emperor ancestor wasn't angry at all, instead he revealed a look of glee and nodded. If this Luo Feng really has the training experiences of the 3 ancient beings, the 10 absolute treasures can be given to him. Of course we can't agree to it so easily. Discuss with him and lower the price. Absolute treasures? What did it have to do with the East Emperor ancestor? The treasures within the sacred land, even if a few universe lords died and a few absolute treasures were lost, it wouldn't affect the East Emperor ancestor at all. To him, the cultivation experience of that ancient and powerful existence was the most valuable. However, I have to verify the authenticity of his memory inheritance. The East Emperor ancestor said, don't let him use his fake memory inheritance to cheat away 10 absolute treasures, that would be a huge joke. North True Star Lord's heart ached when he heard this. 10 absolute treasures, just thinking about it made his heart ache. How many absolute treasures were there in the entire universe? See? Were there even 100? To dare take out 10 absolute treasures to trade, probably only the 2 sacred lands' ancestors. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1283. Above them was an endless sea of lava, and below them was an endless black liquid swamp. One was scorching hot, one was freezing cold. This dangerous ice-fire region had become the craziest battlefield. The strongest of the universe used their ultimate treasures and tried their best to stop the ship. However, the ship continued to fly forward at high speeds. The strongest of the universe could easily break 100 times the speed of light and continued to circle around it. Don't even talk about capturing it, we can't even stop it. What if we can't stop it? Are the 3 of us going to keep following it? Are we going to follow it wherever it goes? The various powers were anxious and helpless. The North True Star Lord had already brought the 10 masters of the universe under him over. He even arranged for the 10 masters of the universe to attack together. For a moment, the attacks from the East Tharch Sacred Ground side were indeed very powerful. However, the North True Star Lord had been using a domain-type cardinal treasure to touch the tomb boat to maintain his divine power transmission. Milky Way Lord, the ancestor has replied. The North True Star Lord said. A voice resounded from the ship. The North True Star Lord gritted his teeth in anger. How hateful! He had lived for so many years and had never seen anyone with 10 supreme treasures. Even the 2 ancestors, before they broke free from the rebirth cycle, they didn't even have 10 ultimate treasures. But after they broke free, they became the greatest heroes of their race. They also controlled the fate of their race. Without a doubt, they were the ancestors of their race. Hence, the common treasures of their race, even the treasures of the universe lords and the strongest of the universe, with a single order from the ancestor, they would obediently hand them over. Because if it wasn't for the ancestor, they wouldn't even have lived past 3 reincarnations. Hence, even the 2 ancestors couldn't rely on themselves to get 10 ultimate treasures. What a lucky human punk! The North True Star Lord's expression was twisted. Thinking about the orders from the East Emperor Ancestor, he became even more jealous. First, he received the most valuable inheritance in the universe C. Now, he just took out a small part of it and exchanged for 10 ultimate treasures. My tribe's primogenitor said that he agreed to exchange for 10 supreme treasures. The Northern Jun Star Lord transmitted his voice over. Agreed. Luo Feng stood up from his seat, his eyes gleaming as he walked around the hall. This was a crucial moment. This was an extremely important moment for the entire human race. If one were to say that his inheritance and the cultivation experience of the ancient civilization that he had brought with him would change the fate of the human race. But this kind of turning point was a gradual change over a long period of time. After all, experts needed a long period of time to slowly nurture. No one knew how long it would take for humanity to produce the next strongest expert in the universe. However, a supreme treasure could instantly change the strength of the human race. What the human race lacked were supreme treasures. If the 10 ultimate treasures reached the hands of the clan, the strongest existences, especially the creator of the giant axe, would be equipped with 2 or 3 ultimate treasures. They would definitely be able to dominate the cosmic sea like the progenitor back then. Primal Chaos City Master, Master of Darkness, Master of Pungong and other peak characters also had extremely powerful treasures. They were like Master of Deer Bug and the others, able to roam the universe sea and not fear the strongest experts of the universe. With such a top-level power, the human race's power would naturally increase greatly. The following negotiations will be very crucial. That East Emperor Ancestor definitely won't be so stupid as to give me the 10 absolute treasures. This is a negotiation for humanity's fate. Luo Feng's mind worked quickly. Even though the progenitor agreed. North True Star Leader said, however the Milky Way leader is clear, these are after all 10 absolute treasures. No power in the cosmic sea can easily take them out. Even the progenitor wouldn't dare be careless. Hence, he needs to first verify the validity of the Milky Way leader's inheritance. The moment it's verified, he'll immediately hand over the 10 absolute treasures. Verified? Luo Feng snorted coldly. How? Naturally, the East Emperor Ancestor will view it. Only the progenitor can verify its authenticity. North True Star Leader said. North True, do you think I'm an idiot? This is a memory inheritance. The moment he sees it, he'll know. If the progenitor sees it and doesn't give me the absolute treasures, then what do I do? Luo Feng raged, and to verify it, according to what you said, it'll all depend on the progenitor's words. Do you think I'm stupid? Everything can be discussed. North True Star Leader said, no matter what, we have to verify its authenticity. Otherwise, if the 10 absolute treasures are given to you and you give our East Emperor's sacred land a fake, then our sacred land. All right. Since you're all worried, then I'll propose a plan. If you don't agree, then forget about it. Luo Feng said directly. Milky Way Leader, please speak. North True Star Leader said. Luo Feng said decisively, the plan is simple. I have a total of 3 ancient beings' training experiences and inheritances. They're in 3 memory stones. First, hand over 3 supreme treasures to me as a pledge. I'll give you 1 memory stone, and let your East Emperor Ancestor take a look. Once he sees it, he'll naturally know if it's real or fake. Whether it's real or fake, I can't be bothered to ask. Just one thing. If you want the next memory stone, you'll have to use another 4 absolute treasures to exchange. The last memory stone, you'll have to use the last 3 absolute treasures to exchange for it. That's the plan. If you agree, then we'll trade. If you don't, then forget it. Luo Feng was very domineering. Isn't this too much? Using 3 absolute treasures as collateral? Milky Way Leader, if the memory stone is fake, wouldn't the 3 absolute treasures be gone? North True Star Leader said. No, this definitely won't do. You'd better ask the East Emperor ancestor. Luo Feng laughed coldly. I believe the 3 absolute treasures to the other races are huge. However, to your East Emperor's sacred land, what are they? If you're not even willing to pay such a small price, you can forget about the inheritance. North True Star leader was negotiating with Luo Feng while reporting to the East Emperor ancestor. This trade had huge implications. Even the North True Star leader didn't have the authority to mess around. However, the East Emperor ancestor, as the strongest being in the universe C, he wouldn't be easily influenced by Luo Feng. He immediately ordered the North True Star leader, 3 memory stones, the first time you use 1 absolute treasure as collateral to get 1 memory stone to verify. The second time it was 5 supreme treasures, and the third time it was 4 supreme treasures. Gritting their teeth during the negotiations, pretending to be resolute, many other methods were used to test each other's bottom line. In between, they let the North True Star leader pass the message. The trade between Luo Feng and the East Emperor ancestor was finally settled. The contents of the trade were, for the first time, he had to use 2 absolute treasures as collateral, and he had to ensure that one of the 2 was a palace-type absolute treasure. The reason why Luo Feng made this request was because in the 3 great danger zones of the Universe C, palace-type absolute treasures were the most urgently needed, and they were also extremely precious. The second time, he used 4 absolute treasures to exchange for 1 memory stone. The third time, he used 4 absolute treasures to exchange for 1 memory stone. The location of the trade, Universe C number 00921, within the dilapidated little universe. The time of the trade, once Luo Feng safely returns to the primal universe, I'll inform him. Within the tomb boat. Ha ha ha. Luo Feng couldn't help but laugh loudly. 2 absolute treasures. With these 2 supreme treasures, especially the creator of the giant axe, he already had a godly axe in his possession. With the palace-type treasure, he's practically invincible in the Universe C. Luo Feng was very satisfied. Even though the creator was strong now, he wasn't invincible. Because the god axe was an attack type, it wasn't enough for defense. This was also why even though the huge axe was so strong, it still kept a low profile. However, it's weird. In the entire Universe C, the only ones who can see the deeper information of the memory stone are the 2 sacred land ancestors. Luo Feng was curious. The East Emperor ancestor is looking for me, but why didn't the Purple Moon ancestor react at all? When he realized he couldn't catch me, did he not think of trading with me? Luo Feng guessed. However, Luo Feng knew very little about these 2 ancestors. After all, who knew how many reincarnations there had only been these 2 ancestors? The encounters of these 2 ancestors were definitely extraordinary. Since the East Emperor ancestor sent himself to his doorstep, Luo Feng naturally wouldn't hold back and give him a good stab. However, the Purple Moon ancestor didn't react. Luo Feng didn't dare act rashly. No matter what's in my mouth is mine. Let's first settle the deal with the East Emperor ancestor and get the 2 absolute treasures first. Luo Feng thought. The creator of the huge axe took so long to get his hands on a god axe, one could only imagine how hard it was to get the absolute treasures. His own star pagoda was given by mountain guest. Of course, the process of recognizing him as the owner was incomparably close to death. The white wings. He relied purely on the senses of Wu Sha's wings to discover it. Blood Shadow Blade. Actually, the Blood Shadow Blade was just a blade embryo. It didn't have any techniques at all. It was just the Nirvana rebirth technique that he infused into it. Of course, even though it was just a blade embryo, it was stronger than any absolute treasure. This was something he got with his own strength. After all, he had to compete with countless warriors, going through layers and layers of selection before finally acquiring the inheritance. The tomb boat roamed the entire way, sometimes even deliberately diving into dangerous places, like occasionally charging into the lava sea. occasionally charging into the storm. Some storms in the depths of the inner region could even rip apart the pinnacle of palaces. Luo Feng relied on the tomb boat and dared to do so, as he was very clear on the tomb boat's power, plus he had a detailed map of the universe boat, hence he randomly entered and forced the strongest warriors of the universe to give up. Damn! Amidst the endless black whirlwind, a palace floated. Within, the 5 true lords of the god-eyed clan roared as they watched the tomb boat leave. Flee, flee, flee! Even the calm first true lord couldn't help but raged, "Give up, we'll give up! There's no point in chasing, I don't believe this human Luo Feng will always be hiding within the tomb boat. The path of the strong requires life and death training. I've never heard of a strong warrior hiding and not fighting, yet training to become the strongest in the universe. Right, for him to become the strongest in the universe, he has to do it in this reincarnation era. To train in life and death training, he's obtained the Duandong River inheritance. To truly train, he'll probably have to fight against the strongest in the universe, or risk his life in the 3 great danger zones. Unless he doesn't become the strongest in the universe, he'll definitely have to train in life and death situations. There'll be plenty of opportunities in the future. When the various races gave up unwillingly. Virtual universe, an independent plane, before the huge axe shrine. The various races still gave up in the end, haha. The huge axe creator laughed loudly. This Luo Feng is indeed confident. When I told him before about the dangers of the outside world, I even instructed him to inform us before the inheritance ends. I'll personally protect him. Who would have thought he wouldn't even say a word and just rode the tomb boat out? The tomb boat is indeed extraordinary. The primal Chaos City leader nodded and praised. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared. Luo Feng. The primal Chaos City leader was overjoyed. The huge axe creator stood up to welcome him. Teacher, huge axe creator. I have some good news to tell you. Luo Feng smiled. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1284. The creator of the huge axe was one of the strongest warriors in the universe C other than the 2 primogenitors. The primal Chaos City leader was even more calm and steady. The inheritance of Duandong River had already made the 2 of them excited. And this Luo Feng's sudden appearance and trade with the East Emperor's sacred land had also shocked them. 10 absolute treasures. The primal Chaos City leader couldn't help but say, no matter how strong one is, it's impossible to acquire 10 treasures. Till now, no one has relied on themselves to acquire 10 treasures. Even the primogenitors found it hard to do so. After all, the strongest of the universe rely on their treasures. Even the primogenitors didn't have the confidence to kill them. Especially those hiding in palaces. Against any warrior of the universe C, it's considered safe. At least to rely on killing to acquire the treasures isn't realistic at all. Huge Axe nodded. Looking at Luo Feng, his face full of praise and respect. Luo Feng, you've created a new record. Powerful. The primal Chaos City leader too felt his blood boil. Luo Feng said, it's not that I'm powerful, it's the inheritance of Duandong River that's powerful. Indeed. If the strongest of the universe were to hide in a palace-type treasure, no one would be able to break through. Even the primogenitors wouldn't be able to do so. Only the 3 great danger zones and other special environments or ancient civilizations would be able to make them fall. Fortunately, palace-type supreme treasures were extremely rare to begin with. Hence the primogenitors had that kind of power. And it's not as exaggerated as 10. Luo Feng explained, that East Emperor ancestor isn't that stupid. Even for the East Emperor's sacred land, taking out 10 treasures would be a huge burden. He wouldn't give them to me without even seeing the inheritance. Alright. Giant Axe laughed heartily. Just the mortgage for the first transaction alone is 2 supreme treasures, one of which is a palace-type supreme treasure. With these two treasures in hand, my human race's confidence will naturally be different. Although I am strong, if I were to be besieged, it would still be very troublesome. Let's not talk about anything else. I'll take this palace-type supreme treasure first. With it and my divine axe, I'll truly have nothing to fear. I won't be afraid even if I'm besieged. I'll dare to fight against 10 or more of the strongest people in the universe. Luo Feng laughed involuntarily. The creator of Huge Axe was truly, I am indeed in urgent need of this palace's supreme treasure. Giant Axe said directly. Regardless of whether it's the cultivation experience from the ancient civilization or this supreme treasure, your contributions to the race are limitless. This palace-type supreme treasure is what I owe you. I originally wanted to give it to the clan. Luo Feng said. He already had a star pagoda. Why specifically? It was precisely for Giant Axe. Wandering in the cosmic sea, he could deeply feel the cruelty of the competition between the powers. When alien races met, the better ones would kill each other for treasures, but the worse ones would kill each other even if there were no treasures to tempt them. However, the more powerful a faction was, the less people would dare to provoke it. If one's own race had a number one expert in the cosmic sea, their confidence would naturally be different. When other races saw a human expert, they would first think of Giant Axe, and they would not dare to act recklessly. This was the pillar of the race. There are two absolute treasures this time, one is mine and one is yours. Huge Axe looked at Luo Feng. No, the other one belongs to Teacher. Luo Feng looked at the Primal Chaos City leader. Me! The Primal Chaos City leader was slightly stunned. Huge Axe was the pillar of the human race. Giving him an absolute treasure was the greatest benefit to the race. Also, Huge Axe's contributions to the human race were huge, hence it could be said that it was natural, everyone could calmly accept it. And Luo Feng's contributions were similarly huge, and the absolute treasures were obtained by him, and he had obtained the inheritance of the Duandong River. His future was limitless, hence giving him the other one, no one had any objections. But to the Primal Chaos City leader? Luo Feng, take this. The Primal Chaos City leader emphasized, this is an absolute treasure. Right, take it. Huge Axe emphasized, we can't always make you pay and not gain anything. Teacher, I've obtained the inheritance of the Duandong River. Do you think the inheritors of the Duandong River wouldn't prepare any weapons? Luo Feng mocked. The moment those words were spoken, the creator of the Huge Axe and Primal Chaos City leader exchanged glances. Right, those words made sense. The Duandong River inheritance indeed had a high chance of preparing a suitable weapon for the inheritor. And the weapon's power would definitely not be low. Absolute treasure? The creator asked excitedly. Luo Feng nodded. The classification of weapons in the Universe C was very clear. As long as it was a treasure with techniques that could reach the universe's strongest level and above, it would all be considered an absolute treasure. The absolute treasures were the highest ranking in the Universe C, because even the most heaven-defying treasures, like those that far surpassed the strongest in the universe, would find it hard to unleash their full power. Hence the Blade Embryo, Killer Wu Wings, etc., in the Universe C classification, were still absolute treasures. This won't do. The Primal Chaos City leader shook his head. This opportunity is hard to come by, so what if a warrior has two absolute treasures? It's much safer, once you've obtained the inheritance. I believe rushing into the universe's strongest wouldn't be a problem, it's just a matter of time. Teacher, this absolute treasure will be mine, after which I'll pass it to you. Luo Feng laughed. The Primal Chaos City leader was stunned. Then it settled. Luo Feng stood up. I still have to leave the universe boat, it'll take close to 1,000 years, no rush, no rush. Shwa. Luo Feng vanished just like that. The Primal Chaos City leader and the creator exchanged glances. The creator exclaimed, back then, who was worried that this Luo Feng who rose as quickly as the Flame Emperor would also be extremely selfish. An extremely selfish and talented powerhouse would only be harmful to the race. However, the truth? Luo Feng is indeed unbelievable, much stronger than the Flame Emperor. His encounters are even more mysterious, however, compared to the majority of the universe lords of our human race. He's much better. The primal Chaos City leader nodded. The strong would consider themselves, this was very normal. However, the choice made at the crucial moment could explain some problems. Luo Feng actually decided to give the second absolute treasure to the primal Chaos City leader. This indeed made the primal Chaos City leader very touched. The tomb boat had already shrunk to the size of a walnut. Within the vast universe boat, it was traversing the dangerous areas, naturally heading outwards. The moment it entered the teleportation area, it could still teleport a large distance, constantly rushing outwards. Even so, it would probably take close to 1,000 years before it could leave. My teacher has been extremely kind to me, and once I leave the universe boat, I'll be able to get that white wing very quickly. The reason why I got this white wing was actually because of the Wu Yu that my teacher gave me back then. Just for that, I have to give him an absolute treasure. Luo Feng thought. Wu Yu, a total of 6 pairs of wings. It was a mechanical treasure. Especially after going through the energy transformation, the attacks it unleashed would be extremely strong. This mechanical treasure normally allowed warriors to fight beyond their level, hence it was a very popular path in the ancient civilization, almost on par with close combat. However, the closer one got to the pinnacle, the harder it was to progress in the mechanical path, because the closer one got to the pinnacle, the requirements for the mechanical treasures would get more stringent. Don't even talk about fighting beyond levels, even creating a mechanical treasure that was on par with one's own was extremely hard. Of course, in the ancient civilization, Luo Feng's current level was considered normal. Hence killing Wu Yu was extremely beneficial to him. It's a pity, including the white wing, I've only gotten 3 pairs. Luo Feng thought. Where are the other 3 pairs? Over the countless years, the Wu Yu has broken apart, the white wing has been damaged, the other 5 pairs too have been seriously damaged, their power greatly reduced. The last pair of wings only has the power of a normal treasure. If it were to be obtained by a universe lord or the strongest warrior of the universe, they would usually just casually throw it in a treasure trove, or give it to a knight. Luo Feng thought. Just like the primal Chaos City leader, he threw it to Luo Feng. The second was also from Tian Tai the Knight. If it was really thrown in a treasure trove, or on a knight in a small universe, then Luo Feng would have no other way. It all depends on luck. Luo Feng could only say that. 6 pairs of wings, the white wing is the sharpest and strongest, and the most important energy is there too. Even if I don't get the other 3 pairs, it's nothing. Luo Feng consoled himself. Leaving the universe boat required close to 1,000 years. Luo Feng continued to study annihilation and East Flower. Even with 10,000 times time acceleration, up till now, he had only just comprehended the first scroll of East Flower and Annihilation. These 2 absolute arts were extremely difficult. Luo Feng only knew how to do the first scroll, but he didn't understand its mysteries. In the blink of an eye, close to 1,000 years had passed. In the vast and silent universe boat, in one of the holes, a blood-colored pagoda flashed and disappeared. After a few teleportations, it rushed straight into the vast chaos energy flow. Ha ha ha, finally a universe boat. It was easy. The journey took so long. Within the blood pagoda, Luo Feng laughed happily. This blood pagoda was a transformation of the star pagoda. Ever since he had shaken off the strongest warriors of the universe, after flying for over 100 years, he changed the tomb boat to the star pagoda. As the tomb boat couldn't change its appearance, and it was too conspicuous, the moment it was discovered by the strong, they would quickly leave. Luo Feng was within the tomb boat. Hence the star pagoda had a new appearance, a blood-colored 3-level pagoda. I've waited for so long, I'm finally out of the universe boat. Luo Feng was high-spirited within the star pagoda, looking at the endless chaos energy flow. For such a long time, I didn't dare to continue my origin law training, afraid that I would accidentally become a universe lord and wouldn't be able to recognize my white wings. Training and comprehension was very difficult. Comprehending the heart of the beast god, with such a high-level technique, he was destined to become a universe lord very easily. Either he would easily break through, or he would be stuck at the threshold for a period of time. Just like how he was stuck at the threshold for a period of time, however, without a doubt, even if he was stuck, he wouldn't be stuck for long. The main thing was that Luo Feng's accumulations were too deep. Before returning to the primal universe, I'll first go to the peak world and keep the white wings. Let's go. Peak world. Wing space. Luo Feng controlled the star pagoda and began to teleport forward in the endless chaos energy flow. Monday. It was Monday again, Tomato requesting for recommendation votes. Everyone has a recommendation vote, to be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come and vote. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1285. From the universe boat to the pinnacle world was extremely far. However, through teleportation and the natural wormhole, the time spent wasn't even a fraction of the time spent in the universe boat. Pinnacle world, the endless water body was crashing about. Above it floated a walnut-sized blood-colored pagoda. I've arrived at the pinnacle world. Golden-horned beast Luo Feng gazed below from within the star pagoda. It's only been tens of thousands of years since I last came here. Only tens of thousands of years. This white wing probably hasn't found its master yet. His Sure Wu wing had already birthed a spirit. The white wing too had a spirit. If the two were to combine, Sure Wu and the white wing spirit could only survive. And with Luo Feng's approval, there was no doubt Sure Wu would survive and the white wing spirit would perish. Hence, when Luo Feng left the last time, the white wing spirit went into a frenzy, wanting to find a new master. Who knows how many eras have passed and it still hasn't found a master. It's only been tens of thousands of years. I don't believe the meat that's already in my mouth can still fly away. Luo Feng smiled. Shwa. The blood-colored pagoda teleported straight into the water body. Within the water body, it continued to teleport. Back when he first came here, he was extremely careful. However, now that he had the treasure, Luo Feng tyrannically teleported straight into the deep cave. Following the deep cave, passing through 9 layers of light, the blood-colored pagoda entered the wing space. Rumble, endless blade storms engulfed the entire space. The blood-colored pagoda shrunk to the size of a speck of dust, swiftly heading towards the glaring huge wings of light. After spending close to a month, finally reaching the entrance of the cave, it reached the huge wings of light. White wings. Golden-horned Luo Feng immediately saw the core of the incomparably huge wings of light, a white wing that was about 100 m tall. On it were scratches and blood stains. The blood-colored pagoda got closer and closer. The blood stains on the white wing emanated a willpower attack. To the current Luo Feng, it was like a small wave slapping against his feet. He didn't feel anything at all. Wung, a ripple spread from the white wing, passing through the star pagoda and reaching Luo Feng. Space beast. An ancient voice resounded. Who are you? Within the blood-colored pagoda, the golden-horned beast was shocked as it spoke. I am the spirit of the winged treasure, the ancient voice said. The golden-horned beast was shocked. The spirit of the treasure? Then what's with the willpower attack and the blade-shaped storm just now? The ancient voice continued. Luo Feng snickered within. This time, in order to retrieve the white wings and to avoid any accidents, the tomb boat was temporarily separated from the star tower when they arrived at the periphery of the fallen peak world. The tomb boat was hidden in the chaotic airflow outside the fallen peak world. His earthling body and Wu Yu were both left there. And the golden-horned beast was riding the star pagoda to retrieve the white wings. Because, Luo Feng was very clear that once the two treasures fuse, the spirit of the white wing will definitely be destroyed. So once the spirit of the white wing discovers Luo Feng's arrival, it'll probably go crazy before Luo Feng can recognize it as its master. It might even do something like mutual destruction. Even though the white wing is an object and not a living being, it shouldn't have any tricks up its sleeves. Just in case, let the golden-horned beast go. The white wings only knew that he was a human, but did not know that he had the golden-horned beast. Humph, once it succeeds, it'll be too late for regrets. Luo Feng thought. The golden-horned beast acted as though it had discovered an extremely powerful treasure. It was arguing with the spirit of the white wing. The spirit of the white wing was obviously in a rush to recognize it as its master. Hence it didn't lie to Luo Feng like before. Instead, it directly told the golden-horned beast the requirement. My strength surpasses your imagination. It's because I'm extremely strong, hence the requirements are very strict. A knight must have the willpower of the strongest warrior in the universe. If it's a universe lord, one must have willpower that surpasses the strongest warrior in the universe. If you can't reach it, you can go tell your race and get someone who meets the requirements to come. I've been lonely for far too long, I really want to go out. The white wing thought of ways to entice the golden-horned beast. Luo Feng couldn't help but sigh. My God. It was so easy to talk to. Back when he came, the white wing was extremely vicious. Now that he was under the threat of destruction, it was rare to find a life form that entered. It even encouraged him to tell his race. Howl, is what you said true? Of course it's true. Howl, the golden-horned beast was obviously very excited, roaring loudly. This is simply too good. I was able to easily come here and resist that willpower attack. It's because my willpower has reached the strongest level in the universe. And I'm actually also a universe knight. I fit the requirements. The white wing spirit was naturally extremely excited and happy. It was most afraid of being absorbed by Luo Feng. If that happened, it would mean it would be destroyed. Even though the conversation with the golden-horned beast was still calm, guiding it step by step, in truth the ownership process was very smooth. Right, imprint your God energy on the wing, imprint your life energy on it, that's when it recognizes you as its owner. The white wing was extremely cooperative. It was in a rush to leave the wing space. It was still thinking of telling its new owner, a certain human had another part of this absolute treasure. When the time comes, it would let its new owner use it to kill that human. After that, and swallow the spirit of the slayer Wu Wing. I'm the true spirit of the wing treasure. Damn that bastard, he actually stole so much energy. It has to be destroyed. The white wing spirit naturally hated the slayer Wu spirit. This was instinct. Success. The golden-horned beast let out a low roar. Master, my wing is damaged. I need to swallow some precious materials to repair it, or swallow some top treasures to repair it. The white wing spirit explained. Because it kept the white wing. The blade storm within the feather space naturally disappeared, causing the entire feather space to become ordinary. The space was also very stable, and one could easily teleport. Schwa. With a teleport, the blood-colored pagoda arrived at the entrance. We're finally out. The legendary universe ocean. The white wing spirit was filled with anticipation. However, when the blood-red pagoda teleported away from the pinnacle realm and entered the depths of the dense chaotic currents, a tomb boat the size of a walnut easily approached it and was sucked in with a whoosh. Within the star pagoda, the golden-horned beast sat there. I feel a summoning, a strong summoning. Master, it's that human, the one with the parts. The white-winged spirit felt an incomparably strong summoning and immediately began to remind him, I was originally a powerful treasure with endless power. After that battle, I disintegrated, and that human obtained other parts of me. The summoning feeling is very strong, and he is nearby." Beside the golden-horned beast, a walnut-sized tomb boat appeared, and a human silhouette walked out of it. He, silver armor and silver wings, carrying a stone blade on his back. White Wing Spirit. Luo Feng looked at the white wings on the back of the golden-horned beast. "You." The White Wing Spirit immediately understood. It could feel that absolute obedience. As long as this human willed it, it would have no choice but to do it. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have left you even if I used up all my energy. Damn human." The White Wing Spirit roared. It too understood that it had to be destroyed. "I was afraid of accidents, hence I let you be happy." Luo Feng said indifferently, "All right, you can be destroyed." Actually, Luo Feng only needed a thought to destroy the White Wing Spirit. However, to learn more, it was better to let the Slayer Wu Spirit devour it. Absorb. Luo Feng used his divine energy to control. Hua, a pair of white wings and 4 silver wings simultaneously floated in midair. Then, they began to fuse with each other. Even the source, which contained a monstrous amount of power, was transferred from the damaged white wings to the bottom pair of silver wings. After all, the silver wings were complete. At the very least, there was no need to worry about the source leaking out. As they merged, waves of pressure uncontrollably spread out. What a strong pressure! Luo Feng held his breath. This mechanical treasure should be one that surpasses the strongest warriors in the universe, using a mechanical treasure. From Luo Feng's observation, the countless parts merging together, the engravings recombining, was extremely complicated. It seemed very long, but in reality it was extremely short. The pressure retracted. A huge silver-white 6 wings floated in mid-air. The bottom 4 wings were extremely intact, while the top wings' edges were extremely sharp, and the edges of the wings were infused with engravings, almost as though they strengthened the sharpness. According to what the Slayer Wu Spirit said, the complete Slayer Wu wings had a total of 6 pairs, the other 5 were like the back of the blade, the body of the blade, and the white wings were like the blade. One could see how sharp they were. Come. Luo Feng's thoughts moved. The 6 wings immediately flew over and swiftly entered his back. The 6 wings spread out. Hua! The 6 wings flashed. Without using any god energy, just a casual swipe immediately caused the space in the control room to be sliced apart. It was extremely easy. Even without using the energy, it's comparable to an absolute treasure. Luo Feng exclaimed, "My Nirvana rebirth unleashed with it, its power is probably only below my blood shadow blade, if I use the energy. It's a pity, the energy, I can't use it for now." The energy was similar to an engine, and it had the ability to store energy. When a strong warrior used the 6 pairs of wings, his god energy should be infused into the energy source. From there it would transform into an even sharper and more offensive energy, blade tornado energy. This energy could be stored within the energy source. During a real battle, he could first use the stored energy and then use his god energy to transform it. However, the energy stored within the energy source belonged to the previous master, and not Luo Feng's. If Luo Feng used his god energy to enter the energy source, he could also transform it into blade tornado energy. However, the level would obviously be much lower, and the moment he used it, he would have to force the previous master's energy to explode, because 2 different levels of energy couldn't be stored in one place. The moment he used it, it was a one-time explosion. Luo Feng couldn't unleash 10%, 30%, it was impossible. The only way he could use it was to infuse his god energy, forcing the previous master's energy to explode. With only this method, naturally the moment he used it, it would be a one-time explosion. Of course, if he used it all at once, the attack power would be incomparably terrifying. However, it was a one-time use. Naturally Luo Feng didn't dare use the energy source now. He could only use his god energy to activate the Wu killer wings, causing them to be like a normal absolute treasure. Recommendation votes? Everyone's recommendation votes? Voting took up a bit of everyone's time, but it was the biggest support for tomato. If it's convenient, I hope everyone votes for tomato. Asterisk to be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1286. The source, Luo Feng couldn't bear to use it so easily. Regarding the source, Luo Feng had two ideas. One was that when he obtains the other 3 complete wings, he could absorb the energy stored in the source to recover. Just like before when Shi Wu's wings recovered from the damage and swallowed large amounts of energy. After all, this level of treasure, even though mechanical treasures could automatically recover, it required energy. And at his level, the energy level was too low. He couldn't recover treasures on the same level as Shi Wu's wings. That was one idea. The other was his trump card. Any blade energy was more terrifying than the strongest warrior's attack in the universe. It could even shatter a top-level palace treasure. And in an instant, trillions of blade energy, and it wasn't released randomly, but through the edges of the white wings, even the strongest treasures would be shattered. The strongest warrior in the universe would definitely die. Of course, this move could only be used once. I'll try my best to find the other 3 wings and absorb the energy to recover. The remaining blade energy will be enough to attack. Luo Feng thought. Actually, the energy within the source was huge. To kill the strongest warrior in the universe, he only needed a little. It was just that he couldn't use it effectively. He could only use it once. The blood-colored pagoda left Leaning Peak World and headed towards the primal universe. Master. The wings are damaged. When the Master instills his god energy, the god energy that passes through these damaged areas will have a huge impact. It will also have a huge impact on one's strength. Shi Wu emitted a ripple. Hence I have to swallow some precious materials. Normally only the main materials for the pinnacle treasures can reach this level. Directly swallowing the pinnacle treasures is also possible, however the price is too high. And more importantly, there are still 3 god bloodstains on the white wings. These 3 bloodstains have a huge impact. However, right now the 3 wings have fused. Getting rid of them is still easy. If I can completely repair the 6th wing, then getting rid of them will be even faster. On the way back to the primal universe, Shi Wu's wings often talked about this. After all the damaged and needing to suppress the god bloodstains, naturally it wanted to get rid of them earlier. I'll gather the materials when I return. However, right now, the materials I have with me are too little. Luo Feng communicated with Shi Wu. He did have some treasures. Because of the battle for the inheritance, a large number of experts were killed in the end. However, because the experts of the various forces who took the initiative to withdraw before receiving the basic inheritance, they all took the supreme treasures, peak-grade supreme treasures, and many other important supreme treasures and left. Because every expert had seen the death of the 2 true lord ranks of the holy-eyed race, they understood that even the strongest treasure palaces could not protect them. They also knew that only one of them could survive if they accepted the inheritance. Almost everyone accepted the inheritance empty-handed. However, they were the powerhouses who had fallen in battle with the monster, Quillo, the Universe Lord who had already killed Undyings in the Emperor Shi game. Also, a large number of experts from the holy-eyed race were killed. Finally, 2 supreme treasures and 1 precious treasure were given to the lightning-clothed fiend celestial by Duan Dong River. However, the other treasures of the 2 true lords and the 10 Universe Lord treasures were all within the tomb boat. Naturally, they became Luo Feng's. Therefore, Luo Feng's true greatest gain was the killing of the god-eyed clan warrior. Other than the 3 treasures, there were many other treasures. It's just that they came to accept the inheritance and were prepared to die, hence they didn't bring many treasures. Luo Feng sighed within. Adding them all up, the pinnacle domain, palace and soul treasures, there's only a total of 3. normal pinnacle treasures, pinnacle domain and palace treasures. There's only a total of 12 treasures of this level. As for those below, they're not even worth mentioning, they don't even have the right to be swallowed by Shirwu's wings. These treasures were probably equivalent to the entire fortune of the strongest warrior in the universe, excluding the absolute treasures. One could only say that those who accepted the inheritance brought very few treasures. Unless the seventh true lord tried to borrow the Ice Cliff Castle to protect himself. Master. Shirwu's ripples resounded. Luo Feng listened. This sixth pair of wings originally had 4 bloodstains. Over the long years, one of the bloodstains has been expelled, forming a drop of god blood. Shirwu said. God blood? Luo Feng was shocked. As the sixth pair of wings was damaged, along with the bloodstain's influence, the infusion of god energy would be greatly affected. He didn't truly inspect the sixth pair of wings. There were a total of 6 complete pairs of wings. Before, Luo Feng only acquired the first and second pair. The white wing was the 6th pair. He was still missing the 3rd, 4th and 5th, these 3 pairs. God blood, it should be the blood of the previous owner's enemy. It's filled with endless power. Master, you are unable to use your god energy to envelop it. Master will first use the wings to force it out, and then use the star pagoda to absorb it. After that, you can slowly study it. Shirwu said. All right. Luo Feng was filled with excitement and anticipation. God blood? An absolute being that was able to damage the complete set of Shirwu's wings? Just the bloodstain's willpower alone was so strong. This god blood's uses were not small. Under Luo Feng's control, a crystal red drop appeared on the surface of the white wing. It was surrounded by layers of thick black-colored blood. This drop of blood, once it came out, it naturally dripped down. It dripped onto the floor of the Star Tower's control room. The floor of the Star Tower's control room immediately caved in, just like a small bowl. This drop of God's blood dripped onto the small bowl. Immediately after, it started flowing on the small bowl and formed a ball. It completely enveloped the god blood. Normal treasures are unable to withstand this god blood. Luo Feng exclaimed. At least his god energy was unable to withstand it. A strong warrior trained. Stepping into the undying level, one's body would completely transform into energy, with life imprinted on every bit of energy. And to become the strongest in the universe, one had to go back to the origin. Many bodies fused into one, transforming from energy to matter. They could also ignite their flesh and blood to battle. At the same time, the absolute being's flesh and blood had other uses. This drop of god blood contains a huge amount of energy. The willpower pressure is extremely strong. Luo Feng thought, with the current conditions of the universe, it's hard to activate the god blood's energy. However, to make this drop of god blood into a soul attack treasure, that's not hard at all. I just need to bind the willpower within the god blood in one direction. The god blood's willpower pressure spread out in all directions. Only Universe Lord's willpower could withstand the blood. And if it were to be bound in one direction, it would be like the sun becoming a laser. Its power would instantly increase by 100 or even 1,000 times. Even the strongest warrior's willpower could barely withstand it. When the time comes, just this willpower rush alone, if used during battle, Universe Lords with weaker willpower would immediately kneel down in incomparable pain. Luo Feng smiled. Even the strongest warrior's willpower, even though he can continue battling, suddenly receiving a willpower rush, he would still be caught off guard and affected. God blood. He could activate its energy. He could use it to pollute the strongest treasures. He could use his willpower to suppress it. The first method was temporarily impossible, the second was too much of a waste of god blood, the third was the most suitable, and he just happened to have a teacher in the universe who was the #1 in treasure making. However, these are just my thoughts. It's hard to say if it will work. I don't have the ability to make a treasure. After returning to the primal universe, I'll look for Teacher Mountain Traveler and listen to what he has to say. Luo Feng thought. Mountain Traveler was the only one who was truly proficient in this, only he could truly utilize this drop of god blood. A drop of blood from an absolute being from the ancient civilization. To be able to attack and destroy the 6 complete pairs of wings that were even stronger than the strongest treasures, just how strong was such a being? No wonder just one drop of blood had such power. Sure Wu. I don't have many treasures, and there are only so many precious materials within the human race. Hence, I'll arrange for the golden horned beast to bring you to the depths of the universe boat to retrieve the treasures left behind by Jiefan Z. Luo Feng communicated mentally. Jiefan Z is the strongest warrior in the solo universe. To attempt the reincarnation, he'll probably only bring the strongest treasures, like the other pinnacle palaces and treasures, they'll probably all be there. Who knows, the treasures he left behind might even be more than the treasures from the God-Eyed clan. Alright, let's hurry. Sure Wu couldn't wait. On the way, they began to separate. The golden horned beast was dressed in the calamity armor, carrying the Wu killer wings and the star pagoda. With the star pagoda, heading to the depths of the universe boat to retrieve the treasures was simple. And the earth body was dressed in the mad demon slaying armor, carrying the blood shadow blade, bringing the tomb boat back to the primal universe. These 2 bodies, the golden horned beast and the earth body, were Luo Feng's 2 main battle bodies. The earth body had the blood shadow blade, which was even stronger. The golden horned beast had the Wu killer wings, and within the wings was the energy source, which was Luo Feng's strongest trump card. These 2 were enough to dominate the universe C, meeting the strongest in the universe without fear. Very quickly, Luo Feng returned to the primal universe. The moment he did, the highest echelon of humanity naturally knew. Virtual universe, outside the huge axe shrine. Humanity's 19 universe lords, including Luo Feng, and the creator of the huge axe were gathered here to celebrate. Luo Feng has returned safely. Returning to the primal universe, there's no more danger. Pring Gong laughed loudly. The other reincarnation eras and the 2 sacred lands have no way of entering the primal universe. And even the strongest in the primal universe has a limit to how much they can unleash. With Luo Feng's current strength, he can still clash head-on, not much weaker. Everything is stable. Our human race is about to welcome a period of rapid development. The primal Chaos City leader was filled with anticipation. Right. If our human race continues to develop, we'll definitely become the strongest power in the universe C. The Void Gold Lord said directly. The highest echelons of humanity were all very happy. They were worried earlier that Luo Feng would meet with some trouble on his way back. Luckily, he returned safely. They could all see how strong the human race would be in the future. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation.